Okay, I'd like to call the Lee County Commissioners Board to order, and those of you with cell phones, please either turn them off or mute them. I better check see if mine is.
No, I said I'm chewing. Get away from me.
Amy is on her way, but she's not here yet, and I don't want to hold everybody up, so I've asked Brother Frazier, County Commissioner Frazier, if he would to lead us. Well, here's Amy. Okay.
Ricky.
That's okay. We'll give Amy time to settle in here, and then we'll have our prayer and pledge allegiance to the flag.
Sure.
Okay, if you would, stand.
If you would care to join me in my prayer, you may. Lord, as I started today, I was really thankful for the springtime and the promise of a new season. And as we go into this afternoon, our hearts are heavy with friends and family in Boston and what they are going through, and our prayers are with them. I just ask that you send your mercy and your grace to those families and to the emergency responders and to that city. And Lord, as we deliberate tonight and we make the decisions for our county, give us the wisdom and the discernment to make the decisions following Christ's example to serve our citizens. It's in these things I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for being here tonight. It's always warmed my heart whenever we see part of the public come and take part in our commissioners meeting. It shows interest in the community, and I for one really appreciate you being here. I'd like to go now to any additional items on the agenda. I do have one, and that's appointment of Equalization Review Board, and we'll put that as B1 so that when Mary comes up, she doesn't have to come up twice. So if you would make that note. Any other agenda items that we need to consider?
I have a resolution.
Okay. Where would you like to put that? Robert, you want to put it in new business H?
No, I can put it on the consent agenda.
Okay.
We had time to read it.
All right. You didn't want to read it, or? Okay, so we'll put it under the consent agenda. Okay, so if there's no other additions to the agenda.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
I noticed the absence of one of our commissioners, and we do have one item on the agenda. I would like to make sure that it is sufficiently backloaded in the agenda today, so that we have anything that's requiring his vote.
Have that taken care of.
Do you? Okay, good.
Okay. Okay, you had something?
One other thing, I'm not sure if we need to discuss this as new business, but I was just talking to one of the administrators for the Johnston Lee Harnett Community Action, and they are saying that we need one more member
Yes.
to serve. So,
We
Okay.
have for a while.
yeah,
we have-
but she was just reminding me, so I told her I would bring it up again.
Now, do we usually send out, Danielle, do we usually send out a notice on that?
Oh, no, I mean commissioners. that there's supposed to be 2 commissioners.
Okay.
And right now, there's
Used to be,
just
right.
one and an alternate.
Are there?
Well, but it's listed as 1 and an alternate. She was requesting if maybe we needed to do 2 and an alternate. If we did.
Okay, let's discuss that. We
Okay,
gonna
that's
put it
fine.
under new
Sure.
business?
Sure.
Okay. We put that as item H under new business. So while we're thinking about this, somebody can volunteer, I guess.
That's right.
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Okay. You've heard the motion. Any further discussion or additions, or if not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous? Okay. And for approval of consent agenda, we've had one addition there of honoring Mr. and Mrs. Brady Waddell for their service. And
I'll read it.
Beatty, okay. Please, Robert.
This resolution is honoring Mr. and Mrs. Beatty Waddell for their service. Whereas Beatty and Blondie Waddell are longtime residents of Sanford, and whereas Mrs. and Mrs. Waddell have worked as director and co-director respectively at the Blandonian Child Development Center in Sanford for the past 20 years. And whereas Mr. and Mrs. Waddell have spent countless hours working and playing with the children in the Child Development Center, and whereas Mrs. and Mrs. Waddell spent numerous hours working with the youth of the church in counseling and crisis situations, giving compassion to all, and whereas Mr. and Mrs. Waddell have demonstrated a pleasant demeanor while working with all children and youth in the church, and whereas due to excellent management skills, all issues at the Child Development Center have been dealt with professionally and effectively, and whereas Mr. Waddell retired from Blandoni Development Center on March 28, 2013, and Mrs. Waddell had retired earlier. Now, therefore, we, the Lee County Board of Commissioners, express our appreciation to Mr. and Mrs. Beatty Waddell for their leadership in the community and dedication and love of children. Be it further resolved that the Board of Commissioners wishes Mr. and Mrs. Waddell happiness and good health in their retirement years. Adopted this 15th day of April, 2013.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Reeves. It's very important. I think that's what makes this community so special, is all the volunteers that we have that go out and work with our children, with our people that are in need, and I think this is very appropriate to recognize them.
Well, when you consider my age and the fact that I remember when they were helping at Blandonian as a youngster, and to know that people are still willing to get up and go do those kind of things. This is before they had the Child Development Center, but they were always been great citizens of this county.
Very good. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any further additions, deletions, discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, I didn't have any public comments, so we'll move on into old business. First item of business and old business is consider resolution opposing Senate Bill 127, and this has been rewritten, I believe, by Neil.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Action was deferred at the March 18th and April 1st meetings on this resolution. I think there was direction given to the county attorney, Neil Yarborough, to make it a more kindler and gentler resolution, where it was more of a positive nature. And so what you have before you is what he developed.
Okay. Any discussion? There is one question that I have. It seems like there's been something that's introduced to move this to privatization where there will be no meetings.
Yeah,
That's,
there is an initiative to transform the Department of Commerce into a public-private type partnership with the potential to realign even more drastically than what's in Senate Bill 127. I mean, there are a lot of things afoot in the legislature, and I don't know anybody that has high confidence that they know how it's going to all turn out. I know that there's initiatives across the board in commerce which would affect the Senate bill that we're talking about.
That's what I had heard, so I just wondered if that was a concern. So I've read what Neil wrote and pretty much agree with everything that he's had to say. Is there any other discussion on this issue?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to go on record commending the county manager and the attorney for sweetening this up a lot. It has a lot more positive ring to it, and it's a much better resolution. I still am opposed to it because I think it's unnecessary. I think Senate Bill 127 is dead in the water and is not going anywhere, but I do commend them for their expert work on making this a much more positively focused resolution.
Okay.
The only thing I had in the next to last paragraph, the now therefore be it resolved, I think there's a typo where it says agricultural A, or am I reading that incorrectly?
Say that again.
It says, that we be placed in a region in which we have natural, economic, transportation, and cultural, a commonality of interest.
Okay, the A is.
A cultural commonality, maybe?
should be cultural and
Okay.
Okay, so.
commonality.
Just a
Need to correct
little
that.
hiccup.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion
Move to approve.
with the amendment.
Yes.
Any discussion? Okay, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, we have 2 against, 3, 4 for. Okay. Consider economic incentives guidelines draft. John?
Wait a minute, before you move on, what was that vote?
1, 2, 3, 4 for, and 2 against.
Thank you.
I think. Did you vote for aye?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
Okay,
That's fine.
that's what we got. All right. Okay, item B, consider economic incentives guidelines draft, page 14 in your book. John?
Yes, sir. This is another item that we first discussed at the March 18th meeting and discussed again on April 1st. This was the last draft that was really discussed at length, so I put it back in the agenda package so the board would be able to look at this one. I think it has some of the things that were discussed by the board and agreed upon, and then there were some things still that were not agreed upon. But anyway, this is the last draft. I was trying to remember last meeting we had like 4 or 5 different drafts floating around and tried to just get one draft back before the board.
Okay. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve this incentives guidelines as written.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, if not, all those for say aye. I'm sorry.
I have,
You gotta speak up.
all right, I thought you was gonna look around.
I did. I didn't see the hand up. I'm sorry.
When I read this resolution here, I was under the impression, or at least maybe I didn't hear everything clearly at the last meeting. I was thinking that was sending this to the chamber and to that committee to review, and they should have taken the two and made one. Is that what we supposed to have done, or brought them together to try to put together a good, solid guidelines? However, when I look at this, I see that we just duplicated what the original draft that Commissioner Womack put together. And I have concerns about this resolution, or these guidelines, simply because if we are talking, line 4, it said the new business must create and maintain a minimum of 25 new jobs. And if we are trying to bring in small businesses, it really hurt the small business to want to come and be a part of, or give them incentives to move them forward in our community. Also, when I look at the other line 5 and 6, and we're still, well, actually line 6 said new business must create at least $20 million. I think that what we're doing here, we are going to hurt ourselves in terms of asking and requiring too much for those new businesses who want to come in and to our community. I don't think this is going to make us attractive at all. I think it's going to push people away. And so my comment is, I think that we need to look at this some more, table it, or have more discussion on it and bring more drafts to the table before we move to adopt this resolution.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to respond to Mr. Frazier's remarks. We spent several hours at the Economic Summit. I believe it was back in March, if I'm not mistaken. And in that summit, it was pointed out to us that after 12 or 15 years of dangling economic incentives in front of businesses of all types, small and large, that we have a net loss of jobs in the county. That it's clear that economic incentives in and of themselves haven't created a net increase in jobs over the long haul for the county. In fact, it's done, if anything, we can prove the opposite. So, and I think we also made the point over several iterations of this discussion about incentives and our guidelines that what we've done is we've made it a tool of first choice instead of a tool of last resort. And by reducing the thresholds for the amount of jobs that need to be created or the amount of investment that needs to be accomplished in the county, what we've done is we've made it kind of the only tool that we use to try to attract or recruit industry in here to encourage growth. And what it's done as a result is it's hurt small business, not helped it. It's hurt small business by doing that same thing in the past, because now the focus is on trying to get the big hitters in here with incentives and ignoring small business. We haven't made small business visits. We haven't spent time encouraging and incubating growth into small businesses. We haven't had a small business loan program. I mean, we just haven't done what we need to do for small business. And so the whole idea with this incentives guidelines was to reduce our emphasis on the use of this tool and this approach to growing the economy, the local economy, and focusing more energy and time and resources on the true job creators, which are small businesses in the county. And by using incentives, we couldn't possibly afford to groom or to incentivize all the small businesses that might be able to take advantage of it. It's a matter of affordability for the county, so it's better to try a different tack or a different approach. These guidelines were structured in this way to make those thresholds very high, which is what most of our peer counties have done, the ones that do offer incentives. They've set those thresholds pretty high, and they do it. I mean, Wake County is like probably 5 or 10 times higher than this for receiving an incentive, and the whole purpose is so that you only use these packages for those big game-changing opportunities that might come to the county. Otherwise, we're using other tools, other resources, other methods to try to recruit and to grow and to incubate the job factories here in Lee County.
To those points, I've looked at economic development for a long time. And you're right, everybody's sort of tightening up their agreements. And the way I see economic development is, to use an analogy, it's sort of like a fishing expedition. You're going out and trying to see what you can land. To compare what we can offer to Wake County is probably not fair to Lee County. I still have a problem with the minimum of 25 new jobs, and that with so many new industries, they may make the capital investment but have a small workforce that may not be 25 full-time employees, but still be a large capital investment. I take issue with that. Also, in item 5, where it says that the salary or wage package has to include health benefits. I understand, I don't want to get into a debate about the healthcare issue, but most businesses now are sending the signal that they are not going to be offering health benefits anymore. So if we include that in our guidelines, we're shutting the door on a lot of other companies. In item 6, it says a new business has to have at least a $20 million new investment in the county, and an existing business must invest a minimum of $5 million to receive an incentive. In my mind, that almost needs to be reversed. And, a new business, $5 million, an existing business is already here, growing and thriving, maybe they need to make the major investment to receive an incentive since they're here already. But I still think $20 million for a new investment is too high when we're trying to create jobs. And again, and I'm wrapping it up, we go all through that, and it's not until number 9 that we say the county will review requests for public infrastructure which benefit the business and the entire community as an alternative to incentives. So again, I know some people think we're beating this to death, but maybe we need to define better. I know we're talking about monetary or tax abatement incentives until we get to number 9. But you know what? If I'm a company and I'm looking to cite a business in a county and I go to the website and I look at this, by the time I get to about number 5 or 6, I stop reading. And I click on to the next county. I don't even get down to 9 where it says we may offer something else. Maybe we just need to do the whereases. I don't have a problem. We had the discussion before about, competing with other counties. But then say, we'll entertain any and all offers or requests to the EDC. And let's see, what is it going to take for you to do business in Lee County, and then bring it to us. Simple as that. And let's see what's out there.
I think companies that are looking for opportunities to expand or to relocate are looking at all the fine print. And I believe that they do read past number 5 or 6. They take a look at all the full range. They want to see what all the fine print says that are caveats or restrictions that are placed on these things. I'd also offer to you that when they see at the bottom, and I thought that was very liberally worded, down at the end where we talk about, we'll, notwithstanding the above, we will consider, other offers that are made. I think that's being very generous, and I think we've been very gracious to allow that kind of language to be used, because that does encourage people, that does bait companies to inquire further or to make offers to do something less than what these guidelines would otherwise dictate. So
I think that's the appropriate word, is guidelines. These are set in
Sure.
stone. And I think the companies realize that.
Well, just to pick on you a little bit, when you say it's liberally worded, if you look at the 3rd line, there is a typo that says the county reserves to the right to review all proposals. So
that typo probably ought to be fixed.
That wasn't good.
I need to eliminate that too. Sorry.
just to lighten the mood a little bit.
There's no question that this is a more right-leaning set of
That
guidelines.
wasn't a typo.
Well, I didn't write it that way.
I just have to put my opinion out there. Yeah. That's my food for thought.
Well, Mr. Chair, I would move that we adopt the guidelines that I recommended on the March 18th meeting. We probably ran out of paper, that's why you don't have a copy of it, but I got mine.
Point of order, there is a motion on the table already.
And I've offered one, which doesn't remove yours, it just adds one. And we can vote on it in any order you choose, but I want to vote on mine as well.
I believe yours is out of order because it is not recommended for an amendment, it recommends substitution of yours.
Say that again.
You didn't ask for a modification to my motion, you asked for a substitution. My motion was related to the original incentives guidelines.
You could offer it as an amendment, but not as a substitution.
Well, take it either way you want it.
Okay.
I want it on the table.
So you want to restate that it,
You restated, you know what
As an
you want to say.
amendment?
I know this is another motion,
okay.
but you and the clerk and the other chair can state it any way you like. I like
Okay,
it both.
so Roberts,
Mr.
Reeves is offering an amendment to the motion that we accept his proposal in lieu of Jim's proposal.
No, we got one proposal here first.
Well, did you
You
just
said,
make
you
the
said
motion,
table it.
right?
You said table it
No, that was after my motion.
after.
Yeah, so, are we legal or?
He did not make a motion to table, which would
Right.
have,
Okay.
he didn't make it. He just said
Okay,
we
so
should.
we have
table.
a motion and an amendment, and so we'll take the amendment first. All those in favor of Mr. Reeves' amended motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay. I didn't hear all of them, so those
That is,
for it said aye, and I only heard one. Is
that's
that
right.
correct?
That's all I heard.
And those against, say aye, or raise your hands. Against, opposed, okay, so then we have one abstain, abstaining.
You got it, everybody votes, everybody votes.
Okay,
Is the yay vote?
okay, all right. 6-1. Keep you straight here, guys.
5-2.
No, it's 5-2.
5-2, 5-2.
Okay, all right. All right, so then, are we ready to vote on the motion as it's presented? If so, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
No.
Okay. So that's defeated, I believe, 4-3, is that correct? All right,
On which one?
say what?
I thought I won.
Guidelines are no longer guidelines.
Okay.
There are no
Four,
guidelines.
yeah, 3-4 and 4 against. All right, all those that voted for the motion on the floor, raise your hand.
For the resolution.
For the resolution. Are we?
Voting for my original motion.
For the-
Voted for the resolution that was
Resolution.
in the book.
Yes.
Okay, so I thought we had 3.
Three.
Okay. So Mr. Frazier, Sarah, Reeves, and Smith voted against. Okay. So that defeated that.
So we right back where we started, or what?
Yeah.
We have no guidelines.
We have no guidelines.
That's not true. We still have
We still
guidelines.
have.
We still have guidelines,
We have a
but no
contract,
many
right?
guidelines.
They're not called guidelines, they're called something else.
Now, we have an incentive policy
Policy, that's what it is.
that the board that adopted the prior board. So that will continue to go forward.
Let me ask this question. I know one answer for it, but just out of curiosity, why does the board contract with a consultant on economic development and the consultant makes a recommendation on the changes and
The board didn't, this board didn't contract with the consultant. That's the LDEDC that contracted with the consultant.
okay, a board contracted with a consultant
Yes.
to make recommendations. That recommendation came forth in this document that I have in front of me. And this board elects to ignore those recommendations?
Yes.
Well, this board contracted with Evergreen. They were a consultant, and they made recommendations. Why didn't we adopt all of theirs?
Because we didn't propose all of it. And you got one.
No, we didn't ask, I mean, it's the same thing. It's exactly the same shoe. It's just on the other foot.
How can it be the same shoe? Have you brought forth anything from,
Certainly have.
I don't know, what was it?
Well, one of the things was the sales tax distribution that we tried last year and failed. We brought that
We
forward.
getting ready to vote on that.
And we motioned to do a number of other things as well. On the school budget, there were some things that we tried to insert last year that got voted down. We tried a number of things from the Evergreen audit, and we're trying a number of things again this year. I would say if we pay it, if we this board contracts with a consultant, and we think they do a admirable job of their work, their due diligence, that we should take seriously what they recommend. And I believe you yourself voted against several of the things that the Evergreen recommendations would have had this board do.
I think that I will always take exception to what a person outside of Lee County recommends.
And I believe Ms. Morphus is from outside of Lee County as
Well, it
well.
might be, I didn't hire her, but my point is, hers is a more open and friendly way to try and attract business than what you're proposing.
I think that Evergreen was very open and friendly as well.
I think they have their own agenda.
And I think Ms. Morphus, who is wedded to economic incentives, has her agenda as
We're
well.
not gonna solve this one tonight. I think a lot of it is looking at what perspective Ms. Morphus comes from, and the fact that we wanted to tighten it up a little bit, but that's neither here nor there since it's already defeated, so. let's
Yeah, but she
move
did
on.
that, she tightened it up.
Okay, next item on the agenda was presentation from Mark III in reference to increase in health insurance premiums. Joyce and Mark Crowder?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I've invited Mark Brower with Mark III Brokers, they're our insurance brokers, to come and give you a presentation on our health insurance costs and why they're where they are, and then I'll come back and talk about the changes for this year. Okay?
I had a question before I started. Good evening. Thanks for having me. I had a question. Was I here to present health insurance? And of course, so if I'm here, that means there's probably a problem. So it's always a challenge. And I want to talk about what some of the issues are. I want to talk about the renewal itself. And then sort of, as I go through, I'll insert some comments on some of the information I think will be helpful to you. So, and our role is to be an advisor for the county, to help you determine what the right pricing is, what the right solutions are, and then ultimately come up with the best options for you. The challenge that we got with the renewal this year, and it was back in last year as well, is it's a claims problem here at the county. We've got, this is the experience that you'll see, and you've got two plans. You've got a PPO plan, which is represented in the top third, the health savings account plan, which is represented in the middle, and then the combined plans, which is in the bottom third. What I want to point out to you is there was a significant amount of claims activity within the plan. The plan actually, the target loss ratio as defined by healthcare reform is 85%. So if the plan runs at 85%, that means that the insurer broke even. Where your plan ran was at 111%, or approximately put the Blue Cross in a loss position of north of $400,000. This is the 11-12 year. Also, the plan trended up about 25% over the prior year, so it was a substantial increase in claims activity that we're having to deal with in this renewal as well. Slide 3.
Mark, before you go any further, let me ask a question here.
Yes, sir.
Acronyms are fine, but I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Sure.
Your PRM is premium,
Yes, sir.
Okay, and CLM is your claims?
Yes, sir, per
Okay.
member. And if you want me to, I'll go across the line just to define it.
No, that's fine. That's the only two. I really wanted to make sure everybody understood what you were talking about,
Okay.
so.
All right. Slide 3 is the renewal that we received originally from Blue Cross, and there was an adjustment to this renewal, and I'm going to push past this slide, but the original renewal that we got was about a 13% increase in the overall premium. Slide 4 is the claims experience that we have for the current plan year, and if you remember, your plan year starts from August 1 and finishes up at the end of July. And we were actually running pretty darn well, as you can see in the PPO plan, until we got to the month of November, which was a significant claimant that actually hit the plan.
Can we ascertain what caused that?
Yes, we know what it is, but it's protected health information, which I'd rather not discuss during the open meeting. So all in all, and the plan is now up close to 100% loss ratio. So again, we're back into a position where we've got significant claim activity that we're dealing with as far as the renewal is concerned. Slide 5, and this is, I'm going to slow down in this particular slide. This is, we're hired by the county as a consultant. We're a fee-based consultant for the plan. We're not tied to any insurer. And one of the functions that we provide is we evaluate the plan on a fully insured basis. We also evaluate the plan on a self-funded basis as well. And what we're looking at is the most recent 12 months of claims activity. Then we're going to take those claims and project what we think the claims are going to be in the upcoming 13-14 plan year. And we're also going to be putting into this additional expenses that are coming on as part of healthcare reform. So if you look here, the $447, the next three items are related to healthcare reform and begin effective 1/1 of 14.
Okay, Mark, I'm gonna stop you again.
Yes, sir.
PPACA.
What that means is Patient Protection Act, Patient Protection and Affordability Care Act. Yes, Obama.
Okay. Yeah, in presentations, it's always best to spell those out the first time.
Oh, I'm sorry, and this is the material that I share with staff, so I apologize.
Okay, so, because we don't know all those terms.
Right.
Makes
So
it-
all these three lines of PPACA are healthcare reform related, either fees or increases increase in fees.
Okay, so all of those were generated as a result of Obamacare?
Yes, sir. So the $447 is for a research fee or tax to the plan. The transitional reinsurance fee is basically $63 per member per year and represents about $28,000 in essentially a tax on the plan. And then finally, the last one, it says health insurance industry fee is about a 2.5% tax on the plan, which represents about $49,000. All told, the renewal that you have is being increased by about 3.5% by healthcare reform. And so while you're getting an increase of approximately around, it's going to end up being about 12% on the premium, all in all about 10.5%. It is being negatively impacted by healthcare reform for this year in the renewal. So when we take all the fees, the taxes, the claims, and so forth, the renewal should be somewhere in the neighborhood of about a 17% increase, and the renewal that you're getting is more competitive than that. Slide number 6, just a little more detail on the fees. And
Go
this-
back and explain that last statement you just made.
Sure. So when we do our renewal expectation, so we, separate from Blue Cross, we do our own renewal calculation. And when we look at all the claims and the fees, the renewal should be somewhere in the neighborhood of about 17% increase. So we do this separate from Blue Cross. We do this without talking to Blue Cross to compare and contrast how we feel like the renewal that the county is getting is coming in. So it's our own independent evaluation on where we think the renewal should be based on your claims, based on these fees, comparing that against how the Blue Cross renewal came in. And even when we got the renewal, there was work to move it down a little bit more. Slide number 6 is a grid that we share with clients, which is busy. There's a couple of things that I want to point out in here. One is this health insurance industry fee, not only does it apply to medical plans, but it also applies to dental and vision. It's, for 14, is going to be around 2.5% is what the tax is going to work out to be, which represents the $49,000 or so that I shared with you earlier. Of
These
further,
are taxes that each person will pay, or
no,
the
the
county
plan
will pay?
itself, the plan pays it. Blue Cross will actually pay it on a fully insured basis, but it's built into the rates.
Okay.
But it does have impact. Years 2 and out, we anticipate the taxes to go between 3 to 4%, so there's going to be more upward pressure because of this tax. The fee for the effectiveness research is actually going to double next year. It goes from $1 to $2. That ultimately ends in 2019. There's no end date on this health insurance industry fee. Finally, the reinsurance assessment fee, and maybe give you a little more clarity on this, this is to handle significant or high claimants that potentially will go into the exchanges. And basically it's taking money and plowing it into healthcare reform. It is actually supposed to start declining in 15 and 16, and supposed to ultimately end after that 2016 year, but it can be extended if they feel like they need the money. Okay, slide number 7. So we ended up with a break of about 1% off the renewal, maybe 1.3% off the renewal, and the reason why it actually, when we were working on the renewal, we didn't have the month of November. We got the month of November. We still got some relief off of the renewal, even though November was a very bad month. But the reason why we got it were the wellness initiatives that the county is put in. So the wellness activities that y'all have already started did have a positive impact on this renewal. Slide number 8 is a comparison and gives you a little more detail. The funding is slightly different per plan. So the top graph is the 2012-2013 plan year. It shows what the county's contributions are, what the employees' contributions are, so that it gives you a chance to compare the current year we're in, and if you slide down to the bottom, what the premiums will be for 2013 to 2014. So not only does the county increase its funding, but the employees do as well. And it was on both plans. The overall net increase is, and the reason why it's different than the premiums is because of the HSA contribution and the MAPD plan, or the plan that is for retirees, so it's slightly different. The overall increase is a 10.5% increase overall, of which the county is increasing its funding by 10.75%. Now, some of the questions that you asked, why is all of this going on? So these are the top claims conditions on slide number 9. Renal failure, cancer, high blood pressure / cardiovascular disease, and obesity. And these were borne out in the screenings that occurred in the fall. So if you go to the next slide, slide 10, the county participated with Central Carolina Hospital to conduct screenings for the employees and to do health coaching for those that are identified at risk. And you see blood sugar, HDL, which is good cholesterol, LDL, which is bad cholesterol, triglycerides, blood pressure, and body mass index were all measured during those screenings. The incentives, which you do to get members to participate, you do have to have economic incentives, were if someone participated, then they didn't pay a $25 premium, or essentially this was a base rate that was created. If they participated, they will pay the rates that you saw on the slides that were 2 previously. Also, employees who participate in the health savings account continue to receive the $1,000 if they participated in the screenings. If they were non-participants, then there's a reduction in their contribution. The drivers, and this is not only a problem in Lee County, we work with about 30 other counties across the state and other municipalities. One of the primary drivers that we're seeing for healthcare cost is the changes in the obesity rate here in North Carolina and in the U.S. And if you look at this, is from the Centers for Disease Control. you're seeing a change in the last 20 years, significant change in the health of the population and obesity.
Mark, I have a question on that slide.
Yes, sir.
When you look at these are the state obesity indices as they change over time, and the South, the Deep South in particular, is getting progressively worse. Is that reflected in the rates at the state level by these larger insurance companies? Do they normalize that by state, or do they do it by county?
No, a group, and sort of there's several different tier structures as far as rates. Groups that are essentially your size and larger are based on your own experience.
Okay.
So you're not being blended, it's 100% credible, your
Right.
experience.
But it would be fair to say that our claims experience within our demographic here locally, the ones that we're insuring,
Right.
and because they are not a healthy cohort, so to speak,
Correct.
that's really driving up our premiums.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, the health of the population, and we work with both self-funded and fully insured clients. That means when they're self-funded, they hire an administrator, it could be Blue Cross, it could be Cigna, they purchase reinsurance on top.
Right.
And probably 2/3 of our counties at least are self-funded. People want to focus on the fixed cost, you know, the administration or the stop loss, but it's the claims
Right.
that are driving my clients' cost structure, and that's what we're having to react to.
Okay.
Slide number 13. Certainly, people will get sick. People will have health issues of which they have no influence over whatsoever. So genetics are going to play a part, environment's going to play a part. But when you look at determinants of health, how one takes care of themselves, how behavior, both exercise and diet, have a significant impact on healthcare demand. And it's borne out in claims. It's easy to see if you get a lot of data coming across your desk like we do, to see what the drivers really are. Look, I want to talk just briefly, I'm going to back up for just a second. You have two plans. You have a traditional PPO plan with co-pays. You also have a health savings account plan. We've got clients, we've probably got 22 to 25 clients that have health savings account plans. And a couple of those have been transitioned to complete HSA-only plans. And what you see is that if you looked at some of the experience, you'll see that the PPO plan actually has been running worse than the HSA plan. And that's a combination of the demographics of the group that go in. Certainly, you get better consumerism in an HSA. But what we have found is what's more important than plan design, because if you have someone who's really ill in a PPO plan and you shift them down to the HSA plan, they're still going to be ill, they're still going to have claims, and if they're a significant claimant, and we see claims coming through of $500,000 and more, the HSA will not fix that problem. What is really the most important issue, it is good to have an HSA because you do want your members to be using this resources efficiently, but in the end, it's the health of the population that's absolutely critical.
You don't think an HSA incentivizes somebody to be healthier?
When someone has significant health issues today, they will have significant health issues tomorrow.
What percentage of that is in the population of the insured?
Well, probably 2 to 3% every year are driving 40 to 50% of the
So you got
cost.
97% that you can
Potentially influence.
incentivize?
You can, and I like HSAs for the purposes of creating incentive structures like you have here with your screenings and your coaching. But over the long haul, the most important thing in our estimation is how do we improve the health of the population? That's the most important. Certainly consumers, because we are participating in a health savings account in our office as well. We're a small group. We're one of the blended crew. Our experience has no impact. Some years that's good, some years that's not. This is not a good year to be. It's better to be blended than to be on our own. But you can get the consumerism that you're looking for. The proper use of services, generics over brands, how they access the services, what's the best point to access the service. But if you've got someone whose health is they're on renal failure, they're going to be a $300,000 to $500,000 claim a year. Consumerism is not in their cards. It doesn't matter. They're going to be a claims problem.
Yeah, but we also have there is, as you, I think, inferred earlier, there's a problem where you allow folks the option of either the PPO or the HSA plan. The ones who are, have the option to stay on PPO and that have chronically bad behaviors that contribute to their health demise. They're not incentive, I mean, there's an incentive to move to the HSA, but it's not strong enough to pull them away from the PPO plan because they're going to get a better economy out of PPO for their health problems. Diabetes, triglyceride levels, blood pressure, all those things that could be dealt with through a healthier lifestyle, there's a tendency to want to stay on that other court, is there not?
One of the reasons why you'll see, and I didn't give you the example I needed to sort of help give you some basics of why I'm saying this. One of the primary reasons why the PPO plan is important to employees are the co-pays on pharmacy. And the reason why is it's a cash flow issue, especially for your lower salaried employees. So if somebody's making $20,000 a year and then they have to come off the hip for $300 to $400 potentially a month or more in the HSA versus having co-pays that it's more easy to budget for them. And I see it all the time because we do employee communication. They'll take the PPO because they need the cash flow that the co-pays in the pharmacy actually provide.
But don't we have that already available to us in the HSA to, because I know that there's new plans, HSA plans coming out where you can actually pay forward on your prescription drugs.
Not in the structure that you have today. But my point is on the health of the population is I mentioned I have 2 clients that went to a total HSA. In the first year of total HSA for both those populations, one was a city government of about your size, and their increase was 43%, and there was no one who wanted them. That 43 was the very best number that they could get. The other is a self-funded client that's the increase is about 17.5. And that's my point is your claims ultimately are going to drive you no matter what. And we saw the same issue of, you see the poor risk staying in the PPO plan, the good risk staying in the HSA, but when we blended them together, we ended up with a 17.5 and we ended up with a 43. So my point is, I completely concur with the value of the HSA, and I will tell you there are employees who are in the PPO today that would be economically better off in the HSA, which I certainly will agree with. But ultimately, it's how do we improve the health of the population is the most critical. So
if the loss ratio decline or go down, will the premiums be adjusted at the next fiscal year?
Yes, absolutely. But it's an unrealistic expectation to think your premiums are going to go down, honestly. Absolutely unrealistic. I've been in this business, I was in the military.
So if we drop below 85 or 85% as you stated, there will not be an adjustment.
Well, you're always trending claim forward. You have to remember that the upward slope on claims is up. And until you've got a history showing that it's not up, you don't have a real shot at that one. I think the best...
We also have an aging workforce as well, which complicates the matter. So, it's going to get progressively worse.
This map does not reflect, this is 30 and above. This map does not reflect the young people today because where I worked in that school district, they went from cutting the amount of physical activity these kids did in school because of the testing mentality. And it's worse at the lower levels, so costs are going to go up.
So just to set and my responsibility to you is to set realistic expectations. I come in and I tell you things you don't want to hear, but because I'm trying to help set the right place to be. If you end up with a 0, that's a fantastic year, honestly. So if you go to slide, and this is let me talk about where I think the future is going with respect to the health of the population. I don't know if any of y'all get the Fayetteville Observer at all or see it at all. There was an article in there about describing what their wellness program looked like. And it was, county introduces new wellness program. The subtitle under it was lose weight or lose money. And what they're implementing is an accountability-based strategy using the screening data that you have, setting a baseline, setting thresholds, and having employees meet a certain set of standards, either meet the standard or improve to the standard, and using economic incentives to get employees there. And I've put on the right-hand side of this, sort of outlining what clients do. And I put yellow on accountability. I've gotten a lot of uptake this year on the accountability side. So and I'm not saying this is the right solution. My first exposure to wellness was in the military. Thou shalt, thou will, or else. And of course, that's not the civilian world. The feds require that the wellness program be voluntary. They also, the way to get people to participate is incentives, but where you're going to ultimately want to consider is the accountability side to move people to a better place.
Why was it tobacco and accountability checked on Lee County?
Well, you don't have accountability. It's a participatory plan.
Okay, but even there, do we have them sign up to be accountable, or?
No, it is today. It is
Not yet.
no, not yet. Today, it's participation. You participate in the screenings. You participate in the coaching, but there isn't a results strategy or criteria that's established for employees.
What's the tobacco yes there?
All it means is that they have a tobacco, non-tobacco user rate. Some of what the clients are doing are including tobacco as part of the accountability process. So they'll use waist circumference instead of BMI, which I don't like BMI as much as I like waist circumference. They'll use cholesterol ratio, glucose or hemoglobin A1C, and blood pressure. So instead of having 4 criteria, it's 5 by adding tobacco. And it's not just smoking, it's tobacco, smokeless, smoking, whatever.
I gotta tell you, anytime I see us ranked less healthy than Robinson County, it makes me uneasy.
Well, these are various things that the clients are doing. Some of them are doing clinics, which some are doing on-site pharmacy, which is really, you've got to have size and scale to do the pharmacy piece. And the clinics don't necessarily guarantee that health of the population is going to improve. But anyway, I wanted to share this with you so that you can sort of have a sense of where your peers are going. We've done this at Cumberland. It's going into the place of Cabarrus, Iredell, City of Rocky Mount, probably in Edgecombe, and some others. And I really believe that employees and their families need leadership. They need a catalyst to move them to a better place. It is strictly voluntary. Use economic incentives to create the emphasis. But that's, this is where we're going with our customers, and that's what I think is going to be important.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Does Blue Cross and Blue Shield look at do they encourage people to go and get health physicals on a yearly basis?
Yes, they do. And
So why wouldn't you encourage the employees to go to their primaries, get their health screenings as a physical lab? And so, because some people aren't going to go, they're just going to do the screening and call it a day. This encourages them then to maybe go and get their overall lab work done and use those markers off that lab work to encourage them to go get a healthy physical so other things will get caught.
Well, there's a couple of reasons why it's done the way it is. One is efficiency and administrative ease, because to get results back from their personal physician, they have to bring it into someone to administer. The hospital is administering this plan. This is absolutely the most efficient, not only for the purposes of administration of the plan, but also for the employees as well. It's very easy, it's set up, it's clean, and it also makes the data much more easily available than to say, Mark, you get your wellness service free each year, go in and see your physician, bring the results back. This is not trying to replace the relationship for the physician, and it's less costly than to send them, if you're looking for a specific set of data like this, to do it here at the county than to send them out onto the economy for a physician visit. So it's a function of making the program efficient and easy and getting the data back.
The point on pharmacy, I know we're a part of the NCACC pharmacy program, are we not? Or at least the NACO pharmacy program?
But that's for the public.
What that is?
Yes.
What is this one for?
This is for the employees of the county
It's for the
entity.
employees. What they're doing is you have to have a number of employees to make this work well and be cost effective. typically you're going to have probably 700-800 employees or north to make it work well, but you're actually purchasing the medications from the MCAP program, which is a purchasing cooperative or alliance to purchase medications, and you have to set up staff and so forth. So before, and so that my supervisor doesn't, so I can remember what I'm supposed to do while I'm up here, besides pontificate. We are looking for a decision this evening on the health plan. And the reason why is we have open enrollment in about 3 weeks. The plan was bid last year, just as a reminder, because that question may come up. And Blue Cross was the most competitive last year, and we feel like based on the plans, you're still going to be the most competitive. Are there any questions at all about anything that I've
Do we
gone
know how
over?
many, what percentage of people do we have in the development program?
We had 335 employees eligible that are in the health insurance plan to participate. We had 255 people go through the wellness screenings. And I sent out a memorandum last week, and we've had 10 more people sign up to get the blood work done in May to be part of the program. These are newer people that just came into the county.
Now, are we, Joyce, are we also retesting each year or rescreening?
Yes, sir, quarterly. For
Quarterly,
those
okay.
people that rated high risk, they will be tested quarterly. She
By the
will
way,
be
you
back
were
May
invited to be
22nd.
Yeah. I don't
This
know
is
what
an
happened.
ongoing program that you approved in October,
Yeah.
and each year we will have our wellness screenings in the fall.
I'd like to commend the HR staff and health services and everybody that participates in promoting this program, because I think it's a great program. I wish we could get all of the people involved, working with it. I don't know of anybody that wants to be sick. And if we could get to the point where we can help individuals do better with their health, I'm all for it. So,
And we're working on that. In fact, we had a Dr. Bush come in today to talk about the stress on your knees with your weight and how your physical activity and all of that. He came in today. Last month, we had a dietitian come in and talk about proper nutrition. And hopefully, this is the beginning. Hopefully, after we get a couple years under our belt, that we can go back to that accountability where we can measure your waist and your numbers, and for people that would have to improve to get the discounts. But this is just the first year. We just started it in November, this past November, to get started in it. So we feel good about what we've done so far. We really do. And one thing that Blue Cross did say to us when they came in, the what do you call them, actuary underwriter came in and met with Mr. Crumpton and Mr. Brower and myself, and we talked about it. And one of the things that gave us this other little bit of a discount was what we had put in place. I gathered everything together and sent it to Blue Cross, and they did give us a couple more percentages off because we had started a program.
I have one more question for Mark.
Yes, sir.
And the same question I asked him before the meeting tonight. Is there anything else you can think of that we could do as a Board of Commissioners to either incentivize or to drive down our healthcare or the healthcare cost burden that we bear now, with what still appears to be a rather unhealthy demographic, among our employees? We do not have, we're not setting any new records for healthiness among our county employees, and I want to know what else could we do with our plan to encourage or promote wellness and reduced, claims of one sort or another.
I don't really, it took, people 30 to 40 years to get where they're at today in some cases. I think you're doing what you need to be doing. I think at the next time we get together, maybe well in advance of the renewal, talk about some of the strategies that could be employed going forward. I mean, there's a variety of things you can do. I think given where we're at today, given this renewal, given the fact you've just started this program, it's hard to go from 0 to 60 given where you're at. So I think Joyce is right. You need to give yourself some time.
Yeah, I'd like to step in the right direction, though. How about for tobacco cessation? Is there some things we could do this year to try to? I'm looking 2-3 years down the pike.
Sure.
Could we do something more in tobacco cessation that would help reduce the long-term?
Well, the thing you would do is to put some kind of incentive in place to say that tobacco is not a healthy lifestyle, and it does lead to claims activity, and it leads to cancer and so forth. You could put in a structure saying if you're a tobacco user, then you're going to pay more. to emphasize it. The positive is that one of the medications to help people kick the habit is already on your plan, is paid, the Chantix, which is already paid within the pharmacy plan. That would be certainly something that you need to do. The thing is today we're really short on the renewal and the enrollment process. So I think between now and the time that we enroll, I don't really think that there's time to properly implement it and communicate it. But if you want to get back together with staff and pull me into it, whatever you want, we can talk about some other things you can do in planning for your 14-15 renewal.
Yeah, I'm thinking that, and as well as the things that are just encouraging, that we could do to tweak our wellness program in the interim, as we start getting a running start at next year's renewal. For example, things we can do to try to combat obesity, and maybe drive our diabetes costs down and that kind of thing.
Sure.
Anything we can do in those areas, any suggestions you've got, we certainly want them, because
I'll get together with staff and we can talk about that in preparation for the upcoming year.
I think one of the things that we've talked about as staff, and it's been implemented, and you see it on the sheet here, is having an employee clinic to make it more convenient for the employees when they are sick or if they have issues. I know Ms. McGee put one in place down in Moore County, and it's very successful. The upfront cost is probably a little pricey. We did talk to the city of Sanford about trying to do a joint one.
What about the school system? They got the heaviest number of employees.
They do, but they don't have any economic incentive to do it. They don't.
That's right, because they're on the state health plan.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So, and to just give you some history for the commissioners that are newer on the board, in the first 4 years that I was responsible for the renewal, we kept it down in single digits. I think 1 year we were at 0, but we did it by changing the coverages in the PPO plan. We whittled that away to where it is today. We even took a look at it again, and to change the co-pays and that kind of stuff, we would not get anything that would be really worthwhile. And one of the reasons, kind of bouncing around a little bit, one of the reasons we still offer the PPO is we have a lot of employees that are used to the PPO who retired, and they are continually asking for it. So I think there is some point in the future where we will go full HSA. I think there is a point where we're going to need to separate tobacco, non-tobacco users, and have some accountability associated with meeting health goals associated with it. And I think it's the sooner we do those, the better. Obviously, we can't do it with the plan year that's coming up, but we can certainly start working on it in October again and get it for next plan year.
Kirk, I think you had some.
Well, on the cover sheet, it says that the impact on the budget is going to be 10.75%, but yet on page 5, it's saying 17%.
And the reason that is a renewal estimate, so that is our own separate calculation of what the renewal should be, not what the renewal actually is.
That was your stuff.
In the real dollars is about $200,000+. That is what that 10.75 represents.
Do you ever quiz staff as to why they're not participating?
We talk to the staff, but I think the interest is growing because I think with the incentive, I think they see, and we've had so much praise on the program thus far. And one thing I will tell you, we started the blood draws and everything in November. We had 2 people that came back high risk, and before she could schedule the appointments, because she meets one-on-one with these people, we have them in a plan on how to change their numbers. 2 of those people are out of work because of their health, and they were both high risk. So if we had done this way before, maybe those 2 people could be saved from the illnesses they're having right now.
I think there's a fear of confidentiality and also fear of knowing that they're unhealthy. So I think some people just want to avoid those 2 things.
That's true, and a lot of people know they're unhealthy, so they don't participate because they know they are and they don't want to change.
There is one other thing, Joyce, that I would appreciate, whatever we can know without violating HIPAA rules. I've heard a similar statistic used in the past in briefings where they talk about, this cohort of 10 employees or 12 employees are accounting for 80% of our claims cost. Do you
Mark
have,
can get that
if,
information.
I would like to know that, and then identify, somebody in HR obviously is allowed to know who they are. I would like to know what could, that we have an assurance that we are doing a special reach out to those people to try to figure out what can be done to target their health conditions and their needs. Because I know that it's probably a dozen people that are accounting for 50 to 60% of our claims, is what I'm guessing.
And we know too through FMLA and everything, we don't talk about people's
Right.
things. And
But, and
we just
obviously,
know
we don't want to break the
numbers.
rules, but somebody needs to do a special outreach to those folks.
We just know numbers, and we gave you a sample of those numbers from the health screens. You've got those people where they were in the health screen.
Yeah, I don't think Jim means he needs to know.
Right.
It's
No,
just
that's
the
right.
fact that if somebody knows, can help these folks.
That's right.
Encourage them to live a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah.
They'll be a much happier employees, so,
And we talk about it, and you do have people that don't go to the doctor until it's too late.
yeah.
They just don't go get their checkups, and Commissioner Knapp talked about, why don't we just send them to the doctor under healthcare reform? That physical is free, but to get them to go do it is another story. But if you bring the blood work and the thing to the county, it's here, they'll do it then. A lot of them will participate because it's right here.
We may have to look at that clinic thing so that, maybe be a little less reluctant to come.
And
Okay.
that was the biggest thing in Moore County, was the confidentiality. And after we showed them the clinic and we showed them the record keeping system, and how it worked, how nobody had any access to anything, people they embraced it. They loved it because they didn't have to go to the doctor. They could go in, and we could pay $5 for their blood work, and if they were going to their doctors, they were paying a whole lot more. But we had our own lab that we contracted with that did our blood work, and we saved a lot of money. We were self-insured too, and that's how you could realize your savings, because you got a record of what you were saving.
Is there any other questions for Mark or Joyce?
I just had one. Do you ever talk to any of the staff about the cost for that transition? I understand what you're saying. You've eaten and participated a certain way for years and years, and now you say we need to make a change. It's almost like the construction business when they talk about going green. Going green is very expensive. You almost got to be rich to go green, but it's the recommended way to go. So changing their eating habits doesn't change the pricing that they'll have to pay.
When they talk, with the dietitian talks to the people, she talks about costs and how you can.
Okay.
And also our wellness coordinator, she sits down with them, talks about their lifestyle, what they do they exercise, and how they eat. And she talks to them about ways they can do that. And we do have a lot of inactive people, and our average age is 47, 48 now. So that's not good either.
Young enough that they probably didn't start off with a good lifestyle, so.
It's
Mr. Chair.
gonna take some time.
I would move to approve the proposed health insurance recommendations and authorize you to sign the application and contract with Blue Cross and Blue Shield.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, George. Okay, update on appeal process for reevaluation project, Mary and Lisa.
I'm gonna let Lisa sit.
That's
Okay.
good. It's good to see her without crutches. That's good.
Good evening, Chairman Parks, members of the board. Lisa and I are here to present an update on the appeals for the 2013 reevaluation process, and we thank you for the opportunity to update you. We'd like to acknowledge our entire staff that's worked really hard during this process to provide outstanding performance and courteous service to our citizens. We also would like to thank Strategic Services for their assistance, administration, and would like to thank the board for your support and encouragement during this process. You each should have a presentation in your packet that we provided. On February 15th, 2013, the County Appraisal Division mailed 31,271 revaluation notices. And people were allowed 30 days to appeal their value if they did not agree with it. We allowed them to appeal by 3 different methods. This is the first time we've had an option to fill out an online appeal form. And we had 101 appeals filed through the online appeal. Mail-in appeals, we received 868, and we had 761 people that came into the office and either spoke with someone or dropped off an appeal form. So we received a total of 1,730 appeals, or 5.53% of the parcels. Breakdown on that, commercial appeals, of the appeals that we received, we had 116, that was in 07. There's a comparison there from 07 to 2013. We had 289 commercial appeals in this cycle, and you can see in 2007 we had 116. So we were up in commercial appeals, and that was anticipated. In residential appeals, we had 1,441 appeals, and in 07 we had 1,251. So residential appeals were less this time. We are up now to 1,758 appeals per. By the time we prepared this, we didn't have them all processed. We've got 89 appeals filed formally to go to the Board of DNR starting this week.
Say that number again.
89 is what we have as of today.
All right, and qualify that number of 89. That is 89 that remain on appeal after the informal process.
Yes, they either filed for a formal appeal after their decision, or they did not get their informal appeal in on time.
Okay, so you're saying that there's only 89 appeals to be heard by the Board of ENR at this point?
As of today.
And how
We're
many?
still accepting
And up till when?
May 1st.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we'll get to that a little later. Next in the presentation, you can see we did Lisa did a great job of keeping up with stats as the appeals and questions were coming in. So you can see a table there that shows you the traffic that was in our office daily. And you can, as you can see, for about the first 3 weeks, we stayed pretty busy, and then it started tapering off. Any questions about that? Okay. In valuation, at the time we prepared this, of course, we didn't have tax-based numbers, but so these are just overall numbers in the column that's pink on your page. These are numbers before any exemptions or deferments or anything like that is taken out. So you can see where we were in 2012, see where we were before appraisal, appeals, and then where we were after the appeals. So from the informal appeals, you can see that resulted in reductions of $102,967,200 through the informal appeal process. But that's, again, that's, everything's in there, deferment, exemptions, everything. The next table shows you a breakdown of by appraiser, the appeals that we had. It's by appraiser and then by neighborhood. So you can see in Mr. Ashburn's, for Mr. Ashburn, he had a total of 588 appeals filed. For Jason Lundy, and he does most of our commercial appraisals, he has 429 appeals filed. He's in blue. And then Suzanne Shue in pink, 713 appeals.
Could either you or Lisa provide the years of experience and the number of revals that these three appraisers have individually had?
Yeah, I could probably gather that information and give you a little bit more accurate statistics.
I'm not- Just ballpark, I'm just curious. I mean, Jason.
Ballpark,
Yeah.
Jason and Suzanne came on in 2007. Suzanne spent 2 years previous to that in Moore County, working in their listing division, I think, with customer service. She came in right as we were finishing up our 2007, so she actually worked with us through the appeal process in 2007, so this is her second appeal process going through. Jason came to us from Pitt County. How long were you in Pitt?
9 months.
9 months.
This is first reval?
Were you other one reval?
I was working on reval.
He was working on reval in Pitt County. And then Ed Ashburn, this is his second reappraisal, and prior to coming on board with us, I think in 2005, he was a fee appraiser for about 10 years, 9 to 10 years, I believe.
Okay,
And this is my third appraisal.
all right.
I lost count.
I'm starting to age me, so I won't say how many.
Okay, any further questions for Mary?
Of the 89 formal appeals, Mary, are some of those the same person appealing several different parcels?
It could be, yes.
Okay. I mean, this is not 80, these are 89 parcels or?
Parcels, not
That's what I was
people, not
getting at.
people.
Okay,
Correct.
all right,
Yes.
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank
I
you.
see on your schedule on page 48 here that there's a number of Board of Equalization and Review meetings. Most of them are Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, late April and May. That doesn't match up to the schedule I got earlier. I saw on the minutes on the website. Are you adding some more meetings?
Well, we just, when we had our training on last Wednesday on the 10th, we just scheduled through May 1st
Okay.
to see where we were at that point. We have to advertise these dates, so we
Right.
wanted to go ahead and try to advertise enough dates that we thought we would need, but we may not need to meet all of those.
Okay, so you might be canceling some of those.
Yes.
All right, and so the ones that are in the minutes of that meeting are the ones that are hard and fast, and you got individual Board of ENR members scheduled for?
We have the Board of ENR members scheduled.
All right.
Now, right now, we don't have enough appeals to fill up even that.
Right.
But I feel certain we'll be meeting at least till then.
I'm sure you will. And then I guess the other question I would have is these are publicly noticed meetings. These are open to the public. And they're going to be held where? Right here?
They're gonna be in here,
Okay.
and on days when there's a conflict, we'll be in the Gordon Wicker room.
Okay.
There's only 2 of those. You
All
can
right.
see those, that's on the 6th and the 20th of May.
I mean, I'm sure some citizens who feel like they've got meritorious appeals it wouldn't hurt for them to come and sit in on someone else's case so they can see the kinds of questions that are asked and the evidence that needs to be provided in order to have success in appeal.
Yes, sir, they're open meetings. so
Okay.
That's right.
Okay, any other questions on the information?
We also
If not-
provided a map for you. Did everybody get the
Yeah, I
map?
saw that.
Yes.
You can see where the appeals are in the county.
Thank you, appreciate all that, Mary. And we'll stay up, we don't need to take action on that one, but we do need to do an appointment of Equalization and Review Board Chairman, or Chairperson. So you received in your information package a copy of appointment of Chairman of the Board of Equalization and Review. I think most of you got it by email, so is anybody that didn't have time to read it over?
Do you have anybody volunteer to be
No,
chair?
it's pleasure of the board.
No, I understand what it is. You didn't have anybody stepping forward.
Let's clarify, by tradition, I guess, let's start with this. By statute, there is only one thing I can find in the state statute that the board chairman is required to do, and that is to sign off on any subpoenas that are required, because apparently the Board of Equalization Review has subpoena authority, and they can subpoena for materials and for for personalities to appear. And I guess they, because they're sworn, they actually send the sheriff out to go round somebody up if they need to, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so that's the first thing. So that is one of the authorities or duties of the board chairman. But explain to the rest of us what the traditional or customary other duties that the chairman would have.
Well, a lot like Mr. Parks, when you're conducting your meetings, he would maintain the control of the meeting, make sure we're staying on schedule, call the appellant up, pose any questions that he may have, give the board an opportunity to pose any questions. Just control the meeting.
So
run
the
it.
chairman controls the flow and the agenda for the meeting. Does the chairman have any other independent authority that the other members wouldn't have?
No.
Okay.
Have you talked to any of the members? This kind of came at us, I know, last minute, but have you talked to any of them to see if they would be interested?
We informed them at the training that you would be appointing a chairman.
Okay.
We didn't have anyone speak up. you know,
Nobody
say, "I wanna
volunteered,
do
that's
it."
what I was getting at. Is
Yeah.
anybody interested, you know?
Well, the other thing I would ask you, because I noticed from your initial schedule that at least one or two of the members won't be present at every one of the hearings because of conflicts in schedule or whatever. Is it imperative that the board chairman be there for each one of them?
No, sir. If they will on their own, they can choose a vice chairman.
Okay.
So we'll probably do that on Monday.
All right.
I mean, excuse me, on Thursday.
So anybody that's a primary, any of the, what is it, 5
Yeah,
primaries?
any of the 5 regular members concur.
So they'll select the rest of theirs if they need a secretary or whatever.
Yeah, it's usually just the chairman and vice chairman.
Okay.
I serve as clerk.
Oh, okay, very good.
Wait, you ready for a motion?
All right.
I'd like to make a motion that Reverend Herman Morris be voted as chair. He's got the most experience on the board, and that's what I'm going by.
Okay. So we have one nomination. Do we have any others?
I nominate Mike McDonald.
Okay, Mike McDonald. Any other nominations? I have a motion, nomination cease.
Move nomination cease.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we'll take Reverend Herman Morris first. All those in favor of Reverend Morris, say aye.
Aye.
What do you have? Okay, 2, 3, okay. All those for Mac McDonald, say aye.
Aye.
Like 4 to 3 for Mike. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
Okay, we're going to take a 10-minute break. And we'll reconvene in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Charlie. I'll text you. It's the same, but I'm getting
Okay, I'd like to reconvene, board.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, Ms. Mehta, if you could, please have something for us, the accepting bid for purchase of scanners from Social Service.
Okay. Chairman Parks, members of the board, Mr. Crumpton. I think my material, unless they've changed it over, it should start on probably about page 50. All right, in the current year's budget, 1213, you all approved funding for some scanners. And these scanners were to serve two purposes. One was to stop some of the paper coming into the building because of the space issue. And the second was to be able to meet the needs of NC-FAST that was coming this year. And I think it might have been maybe Mr. Womack that encouraged us not to jump and run and buy something until we were sure that it was going to work with our Laserfish and going to work with, NC-FAST. So we're just now beginning to get some of the specs, some of the information. We've actually been to a meeting where we talked about the document management system in NC-FAST. So, we were ready to start. So we went out for bid. We had, as you'll see, I think on your page 50, the attachment tabulation sheet, we had 13 vendors that bid. One of the vendors actually had 3 different bids based on 3 different specs. There were no local bidders, at all. We couldn't recommend the lowest bid because it didn't meet the specs that we needed to work with Laserfish, which county currently uses. But we were able to accept the next lowest bid, from the same vendor for $32,760. The company with the lowest bid is HMB Incorporated out of Westerville, Ohio. As our county IT was not familiar with this Panasonic scanning equipment, the IT director asked them to send us one of the products that we would be purchasing. Got it here, we tested it. Actually, the finance department was nice enough to do the testing because they had more scanning experience than anybody else did. So IT's determined that these machines are comparable with what, some of the machines we already have. They would work, fine. In addition to that, I went in online, trying to check their Better Business bureaus and stuff like that. So I didn't find any red flags with this, this company. The other thing about this particular bid, with this one is that they, not only being the less costly of the other machines, it also included a 3-year warranty as well. So we were used to buying the machine plus, cost for the warranty. And so you have, in your packet, my summary on the abstract, the bid tabulation sheet, and then the informal bid, request. And so, the IT director and myself
would like for you to, accept this bid so we could go ahead and get those scanners.
On the red flags that you had, you said that there were no red flags. Would that normally include durability and reliability?
Well, when you're looking for red flags, you're just looking for, first with Better Business Bureau and places like that or whatever, but you're just looking to see if there's been complaints about this particular business and stuff like that. It's just one of the things that you oftentimes do when you get ready to even go out and have carpet put in and stuff like that or whatever. I was just looking to see if there was anything out there, and I didn't find anything.
Okay.
I have a question about NC Fast. How deep into the rollout is NC Fast now at this, and how much? And there's a second question: how much faxing and storage of faxed images, or I should say, how much scanning and storage of scanned images are taking place now in NC Fast?
Starts in June.
Right, and they have done some pilot sites, right?
The actual pilot sites, that'll start will be the scanning, as I understood it, would not start till June in those pilots, but they're going to allow us to start scanning
Right.
prior to that.
So is there any?
But you've got counties that have been paperless for years
Oh, I know that.
that have been using
Right.
scanning, but not necessarily NC Fast, just scanning, period.
Yeah, I guess where I'm headed with this line of questioning is to try to figure out if we have gotten assurance that we're not going to run into some software issue running these Panasonics and trying to tether them to NC Fast so that we can store the scanned images in NC Fast when it comes online.
There's nothing to indicate there, because what's out there, there's a good combination. Lots of the counties have different things, and they've all
Right.
been assured that it'll work.
Right.
If it'll work with, I think it was described as, if it'll work with Laserfish, then it will work,
Right.
with NC Fast, and these work with Laserfish.
Okay, and the electronic document management system that is associated with NC Fast, do we know which brand it is, which brand name? Is it Documentum or any other EMC product, or is it?
I don't know that they've even
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
given us a specific brand of the back end that they're going to use yet.
So we don't know what we're going to be interfacing to for purposes of transactional processing downstream?
Literally, what we're going to do is just, like scan it into, our system. It goes into NC Fast, and they've described it to us that it's just a matter of it has the scanning capabilities, and it works with Laserfish, then we know we will not have any problem.
Yeah. All they've told us at this point is if the scanner can interface with Windows, then they'll accept it. As far as the details of what they're actually going to be using for their document management system, if they don't have the information, they haven't released it.
The only thing they've vacillated back and forth on is the requirements on the PCs themselves.
Right.
They've held true with this. Now, the PCs, as soon as we thought we were good to go on what the PCs were going to require, within 2 weeks or so, they made a change in those.
Kyle, do you know the document format that these images are stored in?
More than likely, there'll be TIFFs.
Okay, and so we've already run tests where we can create TIFF images and recall them and index them properly and all of that?
Yes.
In Laserfish?
We have.
Okay.
Okay, Amy?
Well, I just had a quick question on the 3-year. I'm trying to decipher the bid request writing. It comes with a 3-year advanced what warranty? Some kind of warranty. Okay, exchange warranty.
That's right. Yes.
So if something happens, you just exchange it for a brand new.
Anything
So,
happens.
so you don't have, it's not like a car where it's just certain parts
That's
or.
right, that's
Okay,
right.
all right, that, I just wanted to clarify, so
Yeah.
that's pretty good warranty.
They'll take you through about 10 minutes of troubleshooting over the phone.
Okay,
And then once they realize that, hey, it can't be fixed, they'll basically ship you overnight a brand new one, then you send back an old one, they pay for the shipping.
okay. Well, and how big is this piece of equipment?
Yeah, it's,
Big as a piece of paper.
Yeah, because I apologize, I did not get to look at it, I was gonna look it up
It fits
online.
on,
No, just curious.
just a little desktop.
Okay, like
Instead of
a,
it
like
going out, it
a, right,
goes up.
okay. So,
Slow.
I mean, that's the one thing that I had a question on, because golly day, they're expensive, and technology stuff doesn't seem to last very long. But I mean, would they come out and work on it or service it after the 3 years?
They would,
Do they do anything like that?
you could negotiate something like that at a reduced rate probably for time and materials.
Probably obsolete though.
Well, I know, that's, yeah, I guess, true,
Yeah.
cost of doing business.
Kyle, what was heavy usage?
We actually delivered this scanner to our heaviest user in the county, in the finance department, who, I would have to ask the finance director about how many pages she goes through on a busy week.
We probably do 2,000 to 3,000 pages on a heavy check run.
2,000 to 3,000 pages, and she had it for about a week.
And it did fine.
Did great. And
Good.
we were actually very
Good,
impressed. We were looking to meet the specifications of a Fujitsu 6130, and it actually exceeded those expectations for a much lesser cost than the Fujitsu. So we were very impressed.
Okay, any other questions? Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, we need a motion.
I move to accept the bid, HMB.
Okay, you heard the motion. If no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? There is none. Thank you. Appreciate it, Brent. Okay, budget amendment. Ms. Bentor, please.
Good afternoon, or good evening. You have before you the budget, a single budget amendment. This is appropriating the $12,479 of health promotion money that you agreed to accept for the health department last meeting. They are putting it all in a community project line item to use it for the Horton Park.
Okay, and I think we
Discussed it quite a bit last time.
had quite a bit of discussion there. So, do we have a motion?
I move to approve.
Okay, Brookie moved to approve.
Okay.
Have any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's passed. Thank you, Lisa. That was short and sweet.
Yes, it was.
Okay, item E, consider resolution of distribution method of sales tax revenues. Mr. Crumpton, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The board has been discussing this for a year, actually, as Mr. Womack brought up earlier. But I've been asked to put the resolution before the board, and before the board votes on this change from per capita ad valorem, we want to bring to attention that something came to our attention over the weekend as far as the distribution of the sales tax. If the board votes to change the distribution, the last 2 months of this year will be affected, in the current fiscal year. The last sentence of the statute says the method of distribution in effect on the 1st of July of each fiscal year shall apply to every distribution made during that fiscal year. Since the Department of Revenue prepares the May and June distribution in July and August, those two distributions will also be affected. So that in essence has a effect of taking $20,000 from Broadway in the current fiscal year and close to $200,000 from the city of Sanford in this current fiscal year. Wanted to bring that to your attention because it was raised by the city to the finance officer and me on Friday afternoon. So I didn't want you to vote on it without knowing the complete effect.
These are estimates on your part, right?
These are
And
estimates.
when will we know the precise numbers?
Not until they're reported.
In 2 consecutive months, what, July 1st or thereabouts?
You're talking about the distribution that we would receive around August 10th, and the distribution we would receive September 10th. So we would not, I mean, obviously the amount of sales tax collected, I don't know until I get that distribution. We should know the breakdown of the percentage based on the ad valorem method should be able to get that from DOR prior to that first distribution in effects, but a lot of times they don't post it until that first distribution comes out. So, I mean, it would still be probably it will be a guessing game for me up until August 10th.
Okay, so if it was the will of this board to change the distribution method, but not to have it impact the current fiscal year,
Cannot do that.
well, I know we can't do it directly, but we could do it in effect by then, through a number of mechanisms that we could identify the delta, the change, at some point in the process. We can estimate it now, obviously, $200,000 or whatever. We can estimate it and then seed the city back that same amount of money for whatever purpose.
I had Lisa check that out legally, and we can't do that.
Well, okay,
The other thing is, though, we do have some letters of agreement that benefit the city and benefit the town. That if we can get those moving quick enough, that should reduce their impact.
In other words, you're saying, what I'm saying, except instead of a rebate, what we're in effect doing is giving them other services to compensate for the loss of revenue.
To our
for
letters
fiscal
of
year.
agreement.
Right, and I know you can't because of uniform tax laws, you can't give them a rebate. But what you can do is you can make it up to them, and that's through another means, through other services.
You can't rebate because that in effect goes against the will of the legislature.
Right.
So if you circumvent what they tell you to do, then you're
But
violating
the way
the law.
that you've negotiated the letters of agreement, if we can get those moved out of our attorney's hands into where board votes, then that will help alleviate some of that problem.
Okay, so
I'm a little uncomfortable with us trying to do some of these underhanded things.
That's not underhanded.
I think so. I mean, let us do it right. I mean, we're trying to.
So you're advocating not making the city and the town of Broadway whole for this current fiscal year?
Well, no, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that what we are trying to do is manipulate the process. And so let's go at face on. If we have some issues with it, let's deal with the issue or the problem instead of trying to circumvent what we're trying to accomplish. I mean,
I don't, just as a point of reference, I don't think we're going to be making them whole, either one of them. If you make them whole in the current fiscal year, they're going to expect to be whole in the next fiscal year. So, why are you making change if that's the case? So, I think that terminology needs to.
Well, then there's probably some better terminology or better words, but let me offer this. I don't think it was the will of this board that we would cut the rug out from underneath the city of Sanford in its current fiscal year. I don't think that's appropriate. And I don't care if you're conservative, liberal, whatever you are. It's just not right when someone's got a budget that's been in place for that many months to out of the blue to tell them, oh, your budget's invalidated because we said so. I don't think that was ever the intent of this board. The intent of this board was to change the method by which we distribute the sales taxes beginning July the 1st. That's what we were after. If we were after to do it this year, we would have voted for it this time last year when it was brought forward, and we voted it down.
Well, that was one of the things that we found out this week. None of us knew that it would, how the state distributed their sales or the taxes. And so it does have an impact this year, which none of us knew about.
Right, and that was my point I was trying to make, is I don't think that it's right, fair, appropriate, call it what you want. I just don't think it's right to do that to any organization, any jurisdiction, that in the midst of their fiscal year, that you pull some stunt like this that would affect them, that would affect the current revenues.
Well, I think this, if we
I
look
would
at,
suggest that you consider the source. It would seem to me that the legislature has come up with this rule. And municipalities, it should have been outraged from day one.
Exactly.
And should have been seeking relief. But in any event, I think the action of this board is to make a decision one way or the other first. And if that becomes an issue, it needs to be resolved at a later date. You can't presuppose what we're going to do at this meeting, in my opinion. At least I'm not voting to do that. I will go ahead and vote based on what the motion is, and we'll move forward.
Has since this is new information coming out of Raleigh, which I can appreciate completely, believe me.
It is very interesting because if you stay per capita, the population change doesn't take place until the new fiscal year starts for those distributions.
Right.
So they do that on the accrual basis, but they do the ad valorem on a different basis. I mean, I would have never suspected it based on even the way it's written.
Right.
And all, but once it was brought to my attention, I have gone back and checked some other counties where the change was made, and it is made in that distribution.
The big question for me is, you know, I mean, it's just adding major insult on top of major injury with changing this. Has the Broadway Town Board or the Sanford City Council even been made aware of this?
Yes.
The managers,
Stevens and I talked to them.
the managers have made their boards aware.
But again, the issue at hand is making that decision.
Sure, I know. I mean, I just wanted to know, did they even know about it, since we're just finding out about
Well,
it?
the attorney has some, well, all of us should know, but the county doesn't bear that burden.
I just want to add that the legislature has dictated that y'all will vote by April.
End of April.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Right.
End of April,
Now,
right.
if you choose some other method or interlocal agreements or whatever afterwards, but right now, to comply with the state statute, y'all got to.
It's the
Right,
distribution
and that's the point here. Go ahead and do what you're obligated to do at this point, one way or the other, up or down, and then we can discuss. I don't disagree with Commissioner Womack about his intent, and I certainly didn't realize that. But I'll say again, the league of municipalities should have been looking at this a long time ago, in my own opinion. I'd be very hostile if I found that we were being hoodwinked for 2 months. It's what they wind up doing if it goes this way.
Just for the record, I completely concur with Commissioner Reeves on the point that we should decide what we have to decide today, get that business done, and then figure out through letters of agreement or whatever, how we can ameliorate what we've done to the city and the town of Broadway without knowing this until very late in the game.
If we can.
If it's permissible, legally permissible.
Do you have any other discussion? Andre, do you have anything?
We'll discuss it.
I'd like to answer a little bit of Mr. Fraser's question there. This is not new to the city or the town. We've been discussing in meetings that we've had for over a year now. They had the opportunity even last year to start programming their budgets to take care of if we went to the ad valorem taxes. So this is not news to them. It's something that they've had to contemplate for the year. So it's not the thing. The thing is that I think is very important for us to remember is we have some responsibilities that we have to take care of. We have a $3.1 million shortfall in the county. There's been several things that have happened. The city has some revenues that you can't even find accountable as to how they spend it. One is on the privilege taxes, the sales taxes, other things revenue that they get, that they haven't done any services to acquire. And so it's time that maybe we move on and take care of our county, which we haven't had the funds to do. We've taken cuts for 4 out of the 5 years. And so you need to consider those because you're now the county responsibility. Okay, do we have a motion on the floor?
I move to approve the change that's been proposed, which would be to change the sales tax distribution method from per capita ad valorem.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Okay, we have 4 to 3. It's approved. Okay. Next is consider request to restore meeting schedule from 6 p.m. For Commissioners meeting. Commissioner Smith.
I'd like to, Mr. Chairman, put this into one motion, including the additional dates.
Okay.
I did ask Gaynell if she was available on the 22nd, understanding that the intent for rescheduling our meetings to 4:30 was to allow for compensating for the very long agendas that we've got coming up in the budget process. So I was wanting to move to restore the meeting time to 6 p.m. and then add additional dates for meetings so that we could lessen the agenda time and the time that we spend in our meetings. So I would propose, I move that we reestablish our time at 6 p.m. with additional meetings on April 22nd, April 29th, May 20th, and May 28th, which is a Tuesday. Memorial Day is on the 27th.
Read those dates again, please.
April 22nd, 29th, May 20th, and May 28th.
So in effect, this would bring us to 4 meetings in April and 4 meetings in May?
Correct.
And I believe you said that, previous discussion, that only as necessary.
Only as necessary, yes, based on what the agenda is and what the workload is scheduled.
Mr. Chair, if I could ask, do we have a listing of the budget meetings that were already being scheduled for, I think it was May?
Yes, I put that in my report.
That's it.
It's in the back of your report?
It's in the report here.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, just clarify one thing. We are meeting on May 20th already.
Yeah.
So that may be May 13th.
There was a conflict with a date in there. Okay, May 20th, May 28th.
May 20th.
There is a conflict on the 13th, the report.
Yes.
And I would also say that, to have a meeting next Monday, I don't know that we could get an agenda ready by next Monday.
What is the time limit we have on notification to the press?
48 hours.
48 hours, okay.
Sunshine list.
Okay.
It's 48 hours.
Just for the record, the Board of Commissioners is scheduled to meet already 18 times in the month of May. And
18.
18. And
I can tell you that's out.
well, I'm just bringing that to your attention.
Yeah, I'm just telling you.
By my count, we've got 18 meetings. Now, some of these are very short, obviously, but there are 18 different
Real short.
18 different gatherings and some of them are on the same day, obviously, like May 23rd, May 29th, May 30th, and 31st, where we're having these various departments come and brief and do budget laydowns. It's already a very busy month. And I already have about a dozen other meetings for the Mining and Energy Commission scheduled in April and May. There's no way I can make any additional meetings. I just can't do it.
I don't understand what this is about. What are these changes about? We're not permanently changing the 6 o'clock meeting. We're only trying to get some things done in advance of 6 o'clock and move through the process. Well, I don't understand what the problem is.
Well, the problem was brought up at the last meeting that we were going to have very long agendas based on the fact we're in the budget process.
I don't disagree with that. It happens every year.
And the intent was to go back to the established time of 6 p.m. Not everybody has the luxury of getting off at 4:30 and
Well, you
getting
have,
ready.
no, yes you do. You're not a prisoner. You have the same luxury I had when I worked. You know it when you come on board.
No, we weren't talking about that. I was talking about the citizens.
You can't accommodate every citizen. It's interesting. When it benefits you, it's always about the citizen, the taxpayer. That's all that is. And I don't have any problem whether you come or not. But don't try and obligate my time. This is ridiculous.
Okay, is there any further discussion?
There ought to be.
I'm opposed to making or coming in more days. I mean, we have these days already etched in stone, if you will, and I don't want to add to my agenda during the month. And so I feel that we need to keep it as is, and not try to crowd ourselves into a box, because that's what's going to happen. We'll have too much on the agenda, and then we won't be able to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. So we need to keep things the way they are. Already Commissioner Womack he can't make it, and Commissioner Reeves is saying, and so I don't think that we need to cause them any difficulties in those positions.
Now, let me just offer one other comment. It's quite conceivable that we won't go as late in some of these other meetings, even though there's a lot before us. If we're getting reviews of the departmental budgets in separate meetings and we're working efficiently, or if we all, and I put myself at the head of this list, if we all make an attempt to try to be much more brief and succinct about our arguments,
Lord, okay.
it's conceivable we could reduce the meeting length on these remaining 2 meetings in May. I mean, it's conceivable we could do that, and we could get through it. I don't know, unless the county manager sees something coming that we don't anticipate.
Commissioner Womack, will you put that in writing?
I will make an obligation before the cameras,
Okay,
and I will swear on the Bible, and I'll do all that.
We don't want you to swear on the Bible.
John, let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
Do you foresee anything coming down the pike that would be long agendas?
Well, I think you took care of a couple of them tonight that might make for long agendas. You know, we have a agenda that's kind of filling up for May 6th, but after that, you know, we had the budget presentation on May 20th.
And is that the evening presentation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
We may have a public hearing on the planning board at the May 20th meeting. They gave me notice last week that there's a possibility.
What would that be on?
That will be on the 20th.
Now, if we do that, by rule, we've established that those planning board meetings, we would start at an earlier time anyway, didn't we? Didn't we say 5 o'clock for those?
No, they were 6.
They were going to be 6, so we were going to be front
All
loaded.
public hearings
Okay.
are at 6.
So we would have to, so if we're going to continue with our meeting schedule and we had a public hearing at 6, we'd have to discontinue the regular meeting and go to public hearing at that time.
That is correct.
All right.
But I don't know. She didn't get back with me today, so I can check with her tomorrow to verify that.
The only other thing that I know of, that because this is, it is what it is in this budget year, it's conceivable that when we get the school board budget, that it could be, you know, it could be, we may end up in a position where we have to pick it apart and have a lot of discussion with that. I don't know that this forum is the appropriate place to do that. If we were to offload that to a separate forum and avoid any extra deliberation of the school budget in this forum, then we could potentially get away from other meetings.
Are we planning to have a workshop, on budget workshop, where we're going to discuss this?
Well, I had,
That's in a thing.
yeah,
Got this.
on page 71, I gave the suggested schedule for departmental meetings.
Okay.
You know, at any time during, you know, these meetings, you know, you can have discussion on other parts of the budget. Per the board's request, on June 7th, I've given half a day to the Board of Education. You know, that gives us plenty of time. You know, by law, they don't have to give us their budget to to May 15th. The last several years, Dr. Moss has gotten that budget to us closer to April 15th. They have not approved their budget yet, so I'm expecting it may go into May before we get the budget. So that gives us a couple weeks to go through it before we actually meet with them.
Is that the June 7th, is that the only date that we could do the Board of Education and CCCC?
No, ma'am. That's why it's on here as suggested.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, you talked to them, so I didn't know if they had.
Oh, no, ma'am, I haven't.
something.
You know, I can control the departments in those meeting dates, but the outside agencies, you know, these were suggested dates. We give them plenty of notice, and whatever those dates are.
my only thing, and this is just, and I will admit, this is a personal reason, that is the last day of school. And so for those of us that volunteer at school, we're gonna be kind of busy that day, because that's awards, that morning. The kids get out at 12 for elementary and 12:15, and I think 12:30 at the high school, but, for the elementary schools, that'll be awards day that morning, and presentations and graduations and that kind of thing, yeah.
Well, let me ask a different question. Have all these departments requested to come before the board?
No, sir.
Well,
These are, you know, we try to set up a similar schedule from 2 years ago, because that's what I was told that the majority of the board wanted to go through again this year.
I would represent that as that one or two of us were interested in doing that.
I agree with that.
Okay, and I'm truth in lending. I want to sit through all the departmental reviews again, and I think we learned a lot 2 years ago from it. There were some things that we were able to correct, and I think we did a reasonably efficient job of getting them in and out. And I think it felt, if I'm not mistaken, the departmental directors didn't mind coming in and doing it. I think that they realized that there was an opportunity to air out and make us aware of some shortfalls that they had that otherwise we might not have been attuned to. So I would, whether or not the other commissioners want to come, it's always been optional.
Oh, I agree with that. I have no problem with that.
And I think we open it to the public as well, because the public may want to come and hear about various departments. John?
Yeah, we can move, you know, if it's a better day, June 5th. It's a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Well, my reason for asking, if the 7th is a bad day, you simply say, this is a bad day, pick another day if you're gonna come.
And I would offer that in particular, the Board of Education and CCCC, those two particular budgets are probably going to require quite a bit of time. And I would hope that we would find a day where most of the commissioners could be available if they choose to be there.
Well, I was trying to keep it on the 7th because I know that Commissioner Connect is off on Fridays, so.
Okay, any further discussion on the change of time?
Yeah, I think we need to, I mean, I can understand why Kirk has brought this up, and I can appreciate that. And I would like to again say, I don't wish to infringe on either his time or Andre's time, either one, because I know that they both work, and it's a challenge to get here at 4:30 for these meetings, and I appreciate that. If there is something we can do to avoid adding additional meetings, and you know, maybe if we were to backload the action items on the agenda so that you can arrive at a later time and still fulfill your professional obligations. I'm interested in doing whatever. I'm open to reason. I physically just can't schedule much more. That's my problem. I am so saturated right now with meetings and I can't do effectively the job I've got to do for other agencies if I have to add more meetings to my calendar for the month of May or June. I'm sorry, April or May.
Mr. Chairman, I'll withdraw my motion.
Andre, is there something we can do that helps your schedule at all? Besides moving the start time later?
You're talking about Monday in general?
Yeah.
No. Start time later.
So you go all the way to 5?
Huh?
You go all the way to 5?
All the way to 6.
All the way to 6?
Well, we usually have enough work and conversation to last us 6 o'clock. So that shouldn't interfere with you anyway.
You know, one other thing we could do, Mr. Chairman, is we could change our policy for this year, or at least for the next couple of months, and move the public meetings to the front end of this instead of doing them. I know that it kind of defeats the purpose of it being a public meeting if it's at 4:30. But we could move that part up to 4:30 and then let the public hearings go, and then backload the arrival times of some of the commissioners.
Okay, let's think about that and maybe bring it up to the next. Okay.
That's what I'm saying, when you're doing the agenda, there's certain things that
You can
Yeah.
flip
You
them
just
around.
flip and be done with it.
Okay. So we'll take a look at that. John, is that a cause
Yes,
of
sir.
hardship?
No, sir.
All right. All right, we'll leave it at that then. Next one was Harnett, maybe you brought it.
Yes, I was speaking with, this is a new item on the agenda. I'm sorry. And I don't have any paperwork. I was just speaking with the lady from the Johnston Lee Harnett Community Action about a meeting on Thursday night, and I'm going to attend the state district meeting. And was talking with her, and the way it is on our sheet, at least the way I interpreted it, I was the board representative and Mr. Reeves was the alternate. And he's not able to make it on Thursday because of his commitments. And so when I called the lady, she said, well, you both are supposed to be active members with an additional alternate. Is what she said.
I don't know that we've ever had to.
Yeah, that's
I would
sort of-
offer myself to be on that board,
Okay.
so that we don't have to have any more discussion about it. We'll
Thank
just
you.
offer ourselves.
I'll get with you after the meeting.
Thank you.
They have good barbecue up there.
All
But
right.
it's a long drive.
Well, this one's in Sanford. This one's in Sanford.
I don't want to.
Commissioner Connect told me stay away from that stuff.
It's a long drive though, I tell you.
But Ricky, it's in Sanford this time. Yeah, and hopefully the rest of the time I can make the meeting.
Do we need to have a motion on that, Gaynell?
Yes, sir, since he volunteered.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Ricky.
Madam Clerk, strike that barbecue comment.
Well, it's the truth. It's good barbecue.
Strike that barbecue.
I wouldn't lie.
No, I don't think you're lying. That's not what I would call it.
Okay. Thank you.
This up there. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that, Mr. Frazier.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Okay, managers report. And I guess, Lisa, you're up again?
At least at the start.
Okay, you have before you on page 63, the monthly financial report for the month of March, or the agenda abstract for that, and the report follows. Just want to point out to you that we're still slightly behind the same period last year on property tax revenues. Our sales tax revenues in this report are reflected through collections through December 2012. At that point, we were running about 4% behind last year. As we've already informed you, we are continuing to watch that. After we finish this report, I have the sales tax collections through January to discuss with you. We also are running behind on restricted intergovernmental revenues compared to last year. Some of that is to be contributed to a change in payment in relation to maternal health payments. In the past, as clients came in, were being seen during their pregnancy, we received funding for those. Now we do not receive that funding until the baby is delivered. So that is having an impact on our revenues. I mean, we eventually will get the money, but not.
Unless they move away.
That's a possibility. And also, if they end up having to come in more often, we still only get paid for so many visits over the term of their pregnancy. So if it ends up being a high-risk pregnancy and they're seen 15 times instead of 9, we may only get paid for the
Do
9.
we need to put a restriction on how many times?
I don't think you can.
Don't think you can do that.
CPT code, no, there's a CPT code that addresses that, and they don't get paid if they don't have a certain number of visits.
Well, I think the thing is, if I'm gonna make these numbers up, but you get paid for 7 visits. If you go under, you get paid for 7. You go over, you get paid for 7.
Right.
Hospital does the same thing. Certain procedures get paid for 3 days in the hospital. You may only need 1, you leave, they still pay you for 3. You may need 5, they don't only pay you for 3. So.
With the high risk, are they ever transferred to Chapel Hill for care?
They may be.
Okay, I was just curious.
I'm not sure on the exact
What kicks my
specifics.
butt on that is if they do leave, if you've given them all their care, and the last day they have their
Somebody else
baby
collects.
out of state or out of county, you don't get paid for any of it.
That needs to be changed.
Is this a federal or state?
It's Medicaid.
Medicaid.
So it's
Being
federal.
The other side of that, some of that is because our spending is under, I believe we had some holdback on daycare spending, so that's reflective on the revenue and expenditure side. So the biggest issue I'm concerned about right now is the maternal health issue. That's going to affect us.
That's one of the things that we need to do is get more involved, I guess, with CACC or BACO. And get some of these things taken care of and show them, how it's harming our counties with these stupid legislations that they make. So, yeah, are you?
Or just mention it to the association that we pay.
Yeah.
It would be worthwhile for our health director, for Terrell, to document some of the anomalies in the Medicaid cost share and in those Medicaid areas, because the NCACC is only as good as our reporting up to date.
That's exactly right.
We've got to do a better job of identifying the problem so that they can then go lobby for it.
Only as good as our reporting,
Right.
plus what we submit to them to
Evidence.
work
Show
on.
them the evidence.
Yeah. So we need to take more active
I agree.
role in that. Okay. I'm sorry, Lisa.
No, you're fine. As far as expenditures go, the target would be 75% at this point. We still have the basic departments that are running over, which you've seen all year long. Again, a lot of it's because they're small budgets, you end up with some large expenditures, and it takes a while to balance out, but we continue to track them to make sure that it looks reasonable overall. Unless you have questions on that report, I'll move on to sales tax. If you turn to page 67, you'll see the sales tax distribution report, and also on page 68. On 67, you'll notice I have added what are my projections for this fiscal year, done prior to realizing the change that the ad valorem would make, and not assuming that you would definitely approve that tonight. So these projections are based on where I thought we would be under the normal process. So for to be 7 months collected, you would expect us to be around 58.33%. You can see against the projections, I'm right there in the ballpark, but we are still running under our original budget. So we are projecting to be 4 to 5% under budget for this year. We'll recoup some of that now with the ad valorem change. Okay. The month of January's collections were much better this year than it was last year. We did not drop down quite as badly. Again, though, this is a roller coaster ride. The bottom could fall out next month.
But it looks like through 7 months that we're running about 2.32%.
Right.
If you discount the population growth and other factors, it looks like we're still growing
Yes.
in sales tax.
Yes.
We're just not, our collections are just not running
As
where we
high.
budgeted.
Right.
Okay. So it's not as disturbing as it might at first appear.
I mean, we're still seeing growth, which is good, and we are right now in our preliminary budget numbers, we are trying to factor in some growth.
Okay.
We're just being, we're watching this to see how conservative we need to be. Any questions on any of that?
Any other questions? Thank you.
No, thank you very much.
Mr. Crossman.
Yes, sir. My report starts on page 70, and I'll try to go through it quickly. Ongoing project, Clyde Ryan Road Industrial Park, the Phase 1 work, which is out at Colin Road, has been completed. We're trying to move on to Phase 2. 2 of the 3 owners have signed their easements, and we're still working on the third. And the EDC is taking over that negotiation, although I'm going to be part of it. That's really going to be theirs to try to get that done. The Airport Authority is moving forward. Yes, sir.
Very property owner, I'm
Mr. Womack.
No relation.
sorry. I did.
Not that Womack.
All right.
You have to go back to the 1650s to find where we're connected.
The Airport Authority is moving towards beginning the runway rehabilitation and reconstruction project. We actually should be out to bid right now, and should be getting bids soon on that, and with the construction beginning in July, August, and we should be finished in August. The authority voted unanimously to cancel the 2013 Family Fun Day. Just too much going on, and with the resignation of the airport manager, we just thought it was best for this year. We also have quite a bit of loss of revenue in those 2 months, so financially and everything else going on, it was just better to go ahead and cancel the event. The authority was also notified that the Forestry Service will be completing their lease at the airport. We have a proposed lease, and hopefully we'll sign that in the next 30 days. We expect them to be, they would like to be there in December. This will require the authority to buy and modify an existing hangar for their use and also provide additional T-hangar space. We are trying to move forward with financing options for both of these projects, and we'll probably report back to this board May 6th on that.
John, can you
Yes, sir.
give a little bit more detail on the Forest Service thing about number of airplanes coming in? Because I found that was rather interesting whenever I was at the board meeting. So.
Well, actually, I think there are 6 based here. 6 airplanes will be based here, but there'll be 10 to 12 employees based here because they're going to do their maintenance for the state here. So they'll be flying planes from the west and planes from the east here to have their maintenance done. So
Yeah, I think there was over 20 maintenance scheduled
Right.
or something like that.
That's correct.
So revenue there.
So it should be great for fuel sales. We also had a big industrial recruitment win out there with the Cirrus airplanes being located in the regional sales and service facility in the old NVOC hangar. They have bought the hangar and will be locating 16 planes and 5 to 6 employees to the facility. So we're excited about that at the Airport Authority. The EDC was able to announce that the Triassic property, which is also known as the Stroud property, has been given the state certified site designation. So what this means for us is when developers review the Commerce's website for certified sites, Lee County now has a certified site. That helps us with increased number of visits to the county. And also with this designation, there are some other developers who now are interested in trying to do some other developments and other projects here to get this going. So it was a great first step. Crystal and the board of EDC did a great job getting that done.
Before you move on, let me ask Mary, is that Stroud property under present use value program?
Triassic.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I want us to be doubly careful that the moment that an offer is made on that we've turned that over to Department of Revenue for reconciliation, that we can collect the back taxes and all of that on that property.
We actually do that.
Do we do that ourselves?
Yes.
Okay.
We bill it for that.
And if there's any hiccups on that, we need to be specially briefed on it. That property has been the recipient of now taxpayer subsidy on top of tax avoidance. And we need to be very careful to make sure that we collect the full amount when and if it sells.
We're watching for it.
Okay.
Are they aware of that?
Of the deferred tax being, having to be paid back.
Yeah.
This is part of the application process, so they should be aware of it, yes, sir.
It should be, I agree.
Yeah, I get, well, every year we go through this present use value program, we got half a $500 million of property value that's not taxed in Lee County by what's on the report. And I don't begrudge anyone taking advantage of the programs that are set up at the state. But I do have an issue when we then further subsidize the development of that property to be marketed for economic development while no taxes are being paid. And I want us to be very careful. And if there's ever any suspicion that a property is not being fully compliant with the present use value program requirements of the state, that we need to turn that over for adjudication. It needs to be reconciled because we are shifting the tax burdens in this county to fixed income seniors and away from folks who can afford to pay the taxes. When we do that, we're shifting the tax burden, and that's just not right. And I want us to be very, very vigilant in that area.
Is this the only certified, is that the only property certified here in Lee County?
In this county,
Yes. That's
South Park.
one of the problems we've had with getting industry or anybody to come in.
Right.
We haven't had any certified property for him to show.
And now the next, objective of the EDC is to try to truly have a shovel-ready site. So that is the next work.
Well, if we can continue to move forward towards a public-private relationship for a unified EDC and chamber, then we might be able to generate the private capital needed to have a shovel-ready site. without having to share, without having to make the taxpayers bear that full burden. That would be great.
Hey, John?
Yes, sir. Strategic planning process, I'm still waiting on a proposal from Dan Parks and Ted on completing that project. I should have that this week and then get it out to the board. Solid waste issues, as you know, we went out for RFP to privatize our hauling operations in an effort to try to get out of the leaf and limb collection mulching business. We're reviewing those proposals, but unfortunately none of the companies offered a solution to our leaf and limb collection mulching operations. My accounts, we're losing $40,000 to $50,000 a year in leaf and limb right now.
How? Okay, we're talking about county folks out in the rural areas, right?
That's correct.
Is there not,
Just wondering how much call there is for that.
I have a email from someone who is upset with me about not being open longer out there. So maybe we need to revisit our issues, and maybe we can develop a plan there as far as trying to get more leaf and limb out there.
is there not a private entrepreneur in the county that would offer to handle that service for us? Who has adequate land? I'm thinking there's one guy out off of.
There's the stump, though.
Yeah, well, there's a guy off of Pickard Road that does that.
Right.
About Pfizer has this chipper plant. And I'm
Our
just
materials-
wondering Who is doing that?
Yeah, they're going out and getting private timber to do that.
Right.
Our material is just
It's not clean.
No,
it's not clean enough.
Okay.
But
Matter of fact, we've talked about with the city about combining our operation with the city, and the city's is cleaner than ours, so we have an issue there.
But it would be nice if we had a local entrepreneur, somebody who already runs, who has adequate land space that can take a leaf and limb depository out there and then provide whatever mulching and other functions they want to do. It might be something to do an RFI or a RFQ to see if anybody in the county wants to take that on. Because otherwise we're trying to roll that in with what we're trying to do with the other waste management. It is a separate kind of a problem.
It is. And in our proposals, one of the haulers, and we've never had this discussion, but going door to door out in the unincorporated areas of the county, they threw that out as a proposal. If you're subscribing to the service right now, it would be a big savings. If you don't subscribe for the service, it'd be a big increase. And I don't, just off the cuff, I don't think the board's interested in adding any taxes or services to the citizens out there. I see a lot of head nodding right now, so we'll move on. The 2013-2014 budget update, I've been through all the internal departments and the community college. I've been through their budget. Without them, I have not met with them yet, but they did submit their budget. All the nonprofits have submitted their budgets. The only budget we don't have is the Board of Education's at this point. So we are still working on it. Been through the first round, and we'll probably go through a second round here in the next week or two before we get ready to present the manager's budget to the board on May 20th. So here are the dates. It's been brought to my attention that I forgot to put tax on here. We will add them in here one of these days, but I'm open for any discussions or other dates, times, whatever, for these reviews. And keeping in mind that we do have regular board meetings in June, and the last I just put June 28th because that's the last day we can adopt it. We can adopt it prior to that, but just put that in there for y'all to look at. So if we beat up the dates pretty good earlier, so I'm going to change the 7th to the 5th, and if there anything else, we'll be happy to discuss it.
Let me ask you.
Yes, sir.
For example, you're going to give us your recommended budget on the 20th.
Yes, sir.
Will you also notify the department heads, especially the ones on this list, if they're still not satisfied or if they're satisfied with your recommendation, then are they still gonna be required to come before the board or the commissioners?
Well, 2 years ago, they all came because they wanted to discuss it because
No, I got that part.
I think they like being able to get before the commissioners and justifying their numbers.
They really got issues. And then if that's the case, then fine, but I'd like to see a copy of those who maybe pull out. If any, if none, then fine.
Are you suggesting we make it optional for them?
I would. I would.
Well, I honestly don't have a problem with that. If you want to exempt the department from coming to present its budget, but you leave them a little unprotected, because then that's the time that this commissioner will sit there to review their budget. It would probably be better and more appropriate for them to be there to represent their budget. I mean, I'm not going to demand that the department head or assistant be there, but I would think that my experience last time around is that these were very informative sessions. They helped explain what some of these positions do that we otherwise wouldn't know, and they were able to articulate trade-offs that they're making already and inadequacies that they have in their current that we wouldn't otherwise know about. And I think it's to their advantage to do it. I mean, but I certainly am not establishing any requirement, and nor have I communicated that department head would have to be there to represent their budget, but I would hope that they would come.
That makes them feel better.
I think if it's going to be discussed, they're going to want to be there. Under the county logo, letterhead logo, I forgot to put these in your agenda packets. We currently use the Lee County, North Carolina blocked thing that you see on the front of your agenda packet and have underneath it, committed today for a better tomorrow. There was some discussion when the Second Century project was going on to get all the jurisdictions to do it. We had boxes upon boxes of the old letterhead, so we wanted to wait until we used all that letterhead to make the decision. Just wanted to ask the board their opinion on what, if they have an opinion on what we want to do.
And I mean this with no malice towards anyone. I think it's great that the city and the other independent jurisdictions are looking at logos and that sort of thing. I'm not particularly enamored of this circular design, and I don't see any need to direct our departments to change their logos to be in sync with the rotating arrows. I think that your question about whether or not we should change our letterhead stationery so that we can be in sync on our logos, I'm not sure that that's certainly not going to raise the level of economic development and growth, and it's not going to make us healthier. It's not. I don't see of any possible advantage other than just change for change's sake. I don't know. Other people
I think it was just a branding effort.
Yeah.
And folks wanted to know if we wanted to go along with that.
And in respect and with deference to Mr. Pascal, until somebody comes up with a better motto for the county, let's keep with the motto. Let's just continue to use it. I would not want to sanction that away unless somebody's got a really nifty new motto for the county.
I do too. Yeah. I mean, I saw in your comments where you said some of the departments need to reorder some things.
They need to reorder the letterhead, and there was just the discussion.
Right. But, I mean,
We'll just stick
I'm
with
not
one.
against the well-centered concept, but it just, and maybe, and honestly, maybe it's this board's lack of leadership to make it move forward, but I think it's more action than logo, you know what I mean? And I do like I'm kind of partial to the logo we have now. Maybe just table it for a little while longer and see what happens.
Well, one of the things that, just looking at it, you could do is you could take the Wells Center, Lee County, North Carolina thing, and still
And
have
use
come in,
that for the
just use it
motto.
over the top, and then underneath it have.
Yeah,
Wells Center.
you could
I mean,
do
the
it.
Mr. Pascal's motto.
Or maybe make it smaller and put it under the Owen County. If it's that big, it looks like something else. Sorry.
No, I've heard that statement
Yeah.
many times before, and,
Well, I believe the consensus is we leave it as it is, so.
and maybe after the EDC with if we do the public-private partnership and, some of the things that come out of that, maybe we want to revisit what we look like, graphically speaking on the websites and things.
All right, I'm gonna keep moving on. I received a call from Councilman Taylor, who asked me to go over Senate Bill 676 with the board, in addition to the two other pieces of legislation I put in there. Senate Bill 676, the short title is requiring a 10-year minimum for second gun felony conviction. And I think last year this board had a discussion about violence and gun violence in the city and the county. And this legislation, I think, is a direct result of Councilman Taylor and some of the other folks within the city trying to get stricter sentencing guidelines in place for people who are convicted of a second felony involving or displaying a firearm. And I think they're looking for some support from the county to tell our legislatures that we're interested in this legislation.
I'm just seeing this for the first time, and I mean, on the face of it, I don't have a problem with it. Where are we going to put the people? The felons? Well,
I think what the legislature's thinking, and let's pray that they're correct, that this will have an deterring effect. But
I got you.
I don't have an issue at face value with it. I read this bill when it was introduced, but I got to tell you, I'm hoping that we can defer having to pass a resolution on this until the next meeting.
Yeah,
Because I'd like to see it properly worded. I mean, I've heard the question or the statement made, why don't we have a mandatory sentence on the first offense as opposed to the second offense? But I think that there are legal reasons why they don't want to do it that way. I hear this is a real popular bill around the legislature.
City taking action.
I think they're going to have a resolution tomorrow night.
Okay.
They didn't send you a copy of that?
We can get a copy.
Well, he offered to send it to me.
He
But
said he
I
did.
didn't want to.
I know Charles has actually
I asked him
testified
to
on this
send
other
a
Raleigh.
copy of a resolution that they were working up, and I guess he got busy and behind, so he didn't send it, but.
Yeah, we should have had that.
Okay, so-
Mr. Chair, I would move that we give this favorable consideration once we have a draft resolution to look at, and that we add this to the agenda for our first meeting in May. And that I think this bill will still be pending a vote in the House at that time. That's my guess.
Any further discussion? You heard the motion? All those in favor? Good.
No, I just wanted to add, I'm thumbing through here looking for, one of the biggest problems we have is enforcing the law. And one of the other options that are given to a defendant is that they can plea bargain, and normally the firearms charge is plea bargained out so as to lessen the charge. There's nothing in here stating that that's not going to be allowed because, look, if you don't read the news, I'm here to tell you, the criminals that are shooting and doing things and being caught with guns, they're felons in the first place. They know the deal. Plea bargaining allows them to get out of it, and they'll just continue to play the game. So I'm just stronger language to the point of no plea bargain allowed with a felony gun criminal. But I'm not a lawyer, nor do I play on the TV.
Did the city run this past the district attorney's office, or do you know that? Well, certainly I want their input. And any judge who cares to comment.
You raise a good point.
Lieutenant Pravat, what do you think? What's your personal
I haven't
opinion?
read the,
But what I was saying about convicted felons who are in possession of a firearm is normally plea bargain. Then they're back out on the streets again, you know, a year or two later, yeah, slap on the fingers, a little time, give them a street cred, and I'm good to go.
And they're out legally.
Yes.
so maybe we need to research like Mr. Reeves says. And,
Yeah, in fact, to Commissioner Smith's point, if you look at the top of the second page, it says specifically, the district attorney, in the district attorney's discretion, may charge a person as a status offender. In other words, it's leaving it totally up to the district attorney whether to charge him or even to assert this particular provision. So that actually weakens it quite a bit.
okay.
So,
So no action tonight, we don't need to vote on it. Let's see if we can come back with something for the next meeting.
Hang on to me.
Okay.
that's all right, I'll draw.
Okay.
He withdrew. Okay. Don, you have something?
Yes, sir. On page 73 are the upcoming meetings, other than budget meetings. We have Commissioners meeting May 6th, Cooperative Extension Report to the People on May 13th, Commissioners meeting on the 20th, NCACC County Assembly Days on the 22nd. We have a holiday on the 27th, and then the first meeting of Commissioners in June is June 3rd. And that will also be where our public hearing for the manager's budget will be held.
Are you planning to do that the same way we did last couple of years, to go up to the old courthouse and open it up?
We didn't go to the courthouse.
What did we do that, who did we do that for?
We have done it in the past, but I think last year we went ahead and did it here.
That's right, that's right.
And since your meetings are at 6, I think even through, in fact, I think you're back to 6 in June. It would coordinate with your regular meeting, which would be here, unless you decide
Right.
to move it.
Well, we can always, I guess we can always change venue if it looks like there's gonna be a standing room only crowd, right?
Okay.
I don't know that it'd be necessary.
John, did you give May the 15th as EDC, joint EDC meeting? It's not on your
That's what I was
thing.
just going to mention, is the May 15th meeting on EDC.
Yeah, May 15th at 8:30, or,
Swain Center.
sorry, yeah, 8:30 a.m. on the 15th at Innovation. No?
Explain
Explain
something.
Center.
Yeah,
Yeah, they changed it.
That's what I was gonna ask. You had, I got 2 different emails.
That was the last one I saw.
Okay. They've changed the place. Gotcha.
Okay. Anything else? Sounds it. Last year.
That's it for me, sir.
Okay. Commissioner comments. Let's start with Commissioner Reeves.
I'm going to choose to hold my tongue at this point. I'll pass.
Okay. Commissioner Walnut?
Yeah, excuse me. I just want to keep the folks in Boston in our prayers and our thoughts tonight as they recover from what appears to be maybe a serious terrorist attack this afternoon. Just remember those folks.
Just a note, on May 3rd, the Sand Hill Center will be hosting a breakfast, an informational breakfast here at the Plain, starting at 8 o'clock. Many of you should be receiving invitations.
Okay.
Is that for the public?
I believe so. Well, I don't know if it's for the public. I believe it is.
May 3rd at 8.
May 3rd.
Okay. I had talked with you and the county manager briefly and with Commissioner Lummett about, about adding some time at some point in the near future for an update on the fracking issue. So you're gonna have to give Commissioner Womack a little latitude on the not talking so long about certain issues on that, because He knows a lot about it. I was in meetings all day last Thursday with different folks learning about the issue and learned a lot more. And I think it would be good as far as just public education and communication to share.
I'll promise to do this for y'all. We file a quarterly report with the legislature, the Environmental Review Commission. And I will gladly, because that doesn't require anything at all, send it digitally to Gaynell, and then she can forward that, and then that'll at least keep you posted on the quarterly updates that we're doing, which are pretty detailed. If there are other things you're interested in seeing, I can provide that in a supplemental report to this board, and then in the interest of time over the next month or two, maybe I'll just leave the thing in the commissioner's packet, and then if somebody's got questions they want to raise, I'll be glad to respond to them.
And then maybe after we get past the budget process, like we were talking before, some type of educational something for the public, just to keep in mind.
In that same vein, when you're acting in your capacity as chair for the state, and you have invited guests here for fracking information related to fracking, is that information privileged to this board and the public, or how does that work? In other words, the people that have already been here, based on what I've heard, had interest in the fracking business, but I haven't heard it reported in here.
There is a wide range of visits that we get, that we host. We've had media visits, we've had business development visits, some of which I've been involved in, some of which I have not. There's a wide range of visits. We don't have a mechanism yet that would identify for everyone's public consumption every visit by every company and for what purpose. We don't have that made widely known, and some of the visits are protected, much the way that our economic development activity is protected.
Well, and I don't mean to put you on the
Right.
spot, but I mean, one of the things, it's kind of like the Highway 87 project that we kind of got blindsided with, I recognize the confidentiality, and I think we all can appreciate that, but at the same point, if there's things that we can be told.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think it would
made aware of.
It would be very useful, without divulging names of companies, that there's an interest, for example, in a vertical well being drilled in the late summer, early fall of this year, on the west side of Sanford, to do 3D seismic work and further exploration, so that people aren't caught off guard that that's going to happen. And there'll be some
what
activity.
Debbie's asking for is a little bit, just a synopsis of,
Heads up from time to time.
What's coming down the pike, how far along we are.
And I'm certainly be happy to provide that in writing, and then if there are questions, to do that over the next couple of months. And then starting in July or August, when we got a little more time on our hands, I'll be glad to prepare 5 or 10 minute updates as these things occur.
I want what Commissioner DeRumpler is asking for, but in addition to that, if, for example, if the chamber is involved, I want to know as much as they know. And so some of this would require knowing which companies are actually interested in coming down and planning to do whatever.
And to that point, I'm in a ticklish situation because
I agree.
Because I'm not a business developer. I'm the chairman of the State Mining and Energy Commission, and my job is to provide the regulatory framework. However, and I have enjoined the governor's office, the legislature, and others to quickly get together a business development team to do what they've been asking some of us to do in Lee County. We've been bending over backwards to help industry come in here and get educated about our county at our own expense, at our own time. And it's time for the state to step up and take that responsibility on, and to help educate the economic development organizations, RTRP and our local EDC, on these issues, so that they can carry that water. Right now, they're asking a handful of locals to do all the educational process and to host these industry visits. And and the county staff has been involved. Don Kabaskis from GIS has been involved. the county manager and county planner, the county health director. So there have been, a spattering of involvement among county staff, but it's not been anything uniform, and it's really cutting into their time and their ability to do their jobs, so, and mine as well.
It'd be great if they could sort
And,
of, you know,
and we've asked Tony Alameda,
Help us out
and
on
Mitch, and Mitch Gillespie from Diener, to pick up, and Ward Lenz from Department of Commerce, those three individuals in particular, to take the initiative and put together a business development team at the state that can help do a lot of that, and then they can provide the necessary public information out there to all of us to
So
consume.
have you gotten any indication as to whether they're gonna do that or not?
Yeah, in fact, the governor's special assistant did contact me a week ago and promised that by the end of last week that he was going to get to me, and he didn't. So I'm hoping that he's going to contact me in the next day or so. And I've sent him a reminder note yesterday.
That's
So,
one of the things that you
yeah.
bring up, that and this is all new to me, so, John, I mean, should we be instructing our staff to sort of tally the amount of time that they're spending on this? Again, just to share with Commissioner Womack and the State Commission, so that he can pass along and say, look, this is using our taxpayer money through our staff to do this. Now, I understand we may reap the benefit from it in the long run, but that's not real, like you just acknowledged, that's really not what they're supposed to be doing.
It would be useful for them to record the amount of effort they put in and any expenses, because we do have to assess impact fees at some point.
Right.
And those impact fees will be based on our reasonable expectation of what it costs us to.
And the sooner we start recording those dollars and that time, the
Particularly in
more
GIS.
fair.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. I agree. Please.
And the chamber, back to Mr. Reeves's point as well, the chamber is involved when we can get them engaged, and we actually had the chamber get a van and carry us around on the last visit, so it would help defray costs, so I'm not having to pay that out of pocket.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
That's okay. I'm good.
I just want to echo the same sentiments that Commissioner Womack about the folks over in Boston. I have a niece and a nephew there, and I haven't contacted them today, however, but certainly all of those persons, people who are there, need you all's prayers, and so
Anything else?
I think I'm good.
I'd just like to say it's a good time to be in Lee County. Everything's pretty and the turkeys are gobbling.
Yes, they are. I can see a few hunters that were going out. So.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'd just like to thank John and his staff. I think you guys are doing a fantastic job, working hard to try to keep us solvent in our budget. I know we handed you a rough road to go, trying to see if we can't reduce some taxes for folks. John's been instrumental in helping me with a couple of presentations here recently, and those went off well, I think, in helping educate the public somewhat. John and I and Kirk have a meeting with the Board of Education on May the 10th. This is our monthly meeting, and that ought to be interesting. On April 18th, John and I have a meeting with, I think it's Harnett County and Chatham County.
Sampson County.
And Sampson County, discussing
Workforce
the
development
college,
meeting.
workforce development. So anyway, that ought to be an interesting meeting, so. The college
amazing we
is
could get them all
hosting it
together.
For us, so, they're looking forward. I know that they've been very positive about wanting to get together, so yes.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I did want to commend the Board of Education for not going on a national search and selecting a local.
Oh, yeah.
Amen to that.
Yes.
Yeah, I was there that night, and
Dr. Brown's a great guy.
yeah,
Good for them.
I don't know him, and I don't have any connection to him, but I know what it costs to go out and do a search, and that's a waste of money.
and they did a good job.
They did.
Okay, if no further comments, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.